position even given that early game perhaps advantage. He went for a full clear and kind of just out-mapped Clearlove for 3 to 4 minutes.
We'll keep an eye on that jungle position because we've gotten into pick and ban right here. And IMA, with side selection, have chosen red side. They want counter pick instead of going for these target bans. We've got Zach and Elise double ban away from Clearlove. One, the most powerful jungler in the game. One, just a very good ban in general. Thresh, Talia, and Jarvan still banned away by EDG.
Zach, Elise, if they go for Rek'Sai again, they'll leave open a Kog'Maw. If they go for the Kog'Maw, they'll leave open a Rek'Sai. Maokai still exists though, and that's where the interesting trade will come about from EDG. Which do they choose? Maokai can be flexed, and so I would say it's the highest priority. Rek'Sai cannot be flexed, but IMA might take it away, and SKS is a very good Rek'Sai.
Well, we do have the Kog'Maw ban, so Maokai locked in right away for EDG, so they are committing a little bit to this flexibility. And now, Galio still could be an option for IMA. You just mentioned that Rek'Sai. Cho'Gath was banned away by EDG in Phase 2 of bans in Game 1.
If they lock this one in early, then they're cementing a potential flex once again through 3 roles in Athena, Amazing J, and SKS. That's basically the lanes that it can go into. If you're into a Maokai, then you'd have a perfectly fine laning phase. You would be better than him, and Maokai may go into the jungle then. And so this interesting battle of I may want red side, early pick a flex. No one knows where it's going.
Now that Caitlyn is still open for Jin Zhao in the bottom lane, you've got to imagine that he looks towards it here, because if iBoy is able to take that 650 range AD after the performance he had, alrighty, Xayah. That means Caitlyn will fall over towards EDG's side of picks.
And I mean, at this stage, EDG can respond with Kalista Rakan.
Oh, yeah.
Just be like, hey, man, nice Xayah. It'd be a shame if you died 6 times at level 6.
During laning phase.
And I'm a little bit sad they didn't do the no hesitation double lock-in of it. I was banking on that. Otherwise, I would have drawn it out to sound smart. Kalista really good for these reasons, and Rakan really good. No, they're just locking both.
We know that's what they're going to be looking for.
They might do Braum.
They might swap it over, yeah.
Because Braum's good into Xayah, but taking Rakan away from the combo makes the most sense to me. You'd still be looking at SKS, at Jin Zhao and Road and saying, you know, Tahm Kench is right in Road's wheelhouse as a response for the 2v2 lane, but doesn't look like that role is the priority yet.
Athena going for the Corki hover and leaps forward in his seat. Perhaps he could be awakening here. Against the likes of Scout. Yeah, he's going to lock it in. All right, so this Corki was massive in their game against Dan 2 days ago. As he leans back in the chair, they could be coming to life.
You know, Talia banned from him in both games. I really did appreciate the respect bans out of EDG here. These are the champions, Talia and J4, that got IMA their last victory in their 2-0. They looked very good with the champions. They were able to control laning phases. We come into the second ban phase.
Kassadin for the final ban, along with that Cassiopeia. A lot of priority on setting Athena up in this mid lane. Perhaps Jin Zhao and Road, they were picked early in Game 1. Things shifting over here in Game 2.
Yeah, Cass and Cass taken away. That one's weird to me. I don't know if the Kassadin ban was all that necessary. He knows it's into the Corki. Magic damage, of course, can be diffused quite well. The matchup isn't that bad for Kassadin. I guess it's just an early indicator that they know where you're going. EDG, they know.
Alistair banned away along with that Kayn. And now we're still looking towards where that Cho'Gath is going to end up. Jungle, top, support. A lot of counter picks still available for IMA. EDG, they've got to look towards mid lane and show us where that Maokai goes.
And I'd be surprised, again, they might indicate where it's going to go here. It's between top and jungle with Corki locked. I was expecting a support champion to perhaps be locked in here. Now, I am going to say that Gragas can support. It's not likely, but if they want to continue along the lines of flexing everything and confusing EDG, or just getting the best matchup for themselves with their last pick, they can pick the role that it's going to be for by having that as a flex.
Still looking towards a top lane or a jungle. Big smiles and laughing out of Mouse as Rumble falls through and is locked in to the top lane. It's a lot of magic damage, and ooh, do we get an AD carry versus AD carry mid? Does Scout step up to meet Athena and maintain title of most MVPs in the league?
He does. They're going to lock in the Lucian for themselves. And Lucian into Corki isn't that bad of a matchup at all. Of course, when you start to get items, they'll both just instantly blow each other up. But before that stage, you can dodge the phosphorus bombs. It's not actually that difficult of a lane to execute on if you are the Lucian. And I'm not against that composition. When they have the Rumble locked in for top lane, when they give themselves the magic damage, they can go physical and they can pick themselves a carry in the mid lane, but it does leave them open to the last pick here of Aimee.
Rengar locked in at the last second for them. Oh, this is quite exciting.
Unsurprisingly, they flex the Gragas to support.
Yes.
So it's the only reason I mentioned it is I knew Road is the kind of player that does do this. Now going for the Rengar as the last pick is something you'd look at and say that's rather curious. Of course, there's 280 carries on the side of EDG. Rumble is a fairly fragile champion earlier on into the game, as is Maokai until you start getting all of your items there in the first place. So Rengar can scale, Rengar can one-hit everybody on the side of EDG if he starts snowballing early into this game. Not an easy thing to do though, the champion he's got for himself.
Aimee taking a completely different strategy here in game number 2. Instead of going for the globals and the split push, they're going for the assassination and massive damage carries, plus some good scaling on their own Xayah, and some eventual takingness with that Cho'Gath up top. Whereas EDG, on the other hand, they have got damage out the wazoo.
They do, and you can see where Aimee went with their composition as well. We mentioned all the flexes that they've got, so they can have the Cho'Gath now top lane. He can one-hit carries. If he gets going with the Gargoyle Stoneplate, Rengar can one-hit. Corki with the package timing can roam around the map, and when you say late game Corki, he can pretty much one-hit carries as well if he's able to get onto them, and often does. Xayah, very good at letting people come towards you, and that's the thing here though. Lucian will come towards you, Kalista has to come towards you, and so the matchup isn't all that bad for the side of Aimee if you're 1v1ing everybody as Xayah. But Rumble Equalizer, big problem for all of Aimee, and if EDG's top laner does well here, gets through laning phase, maybe gets through with a slight lead, he will carry the game.
We'll keep an eye on that top lane because it is going to be that rumble into Cho'Gath up top. Amazing Jay, the shot caller, the captain for the team of Aimee, has to keep his cool under the heat of that flame spitter. But it looks like we're ready to load onto the Rift with these final compositions. EDG, a very strong game number 1, demonstrating confidence in their new AD carry iBoy and allowing him to put on some huge numbers, his huge carry pants. Now they've got a few more options here in game number 2. Perhaps the rest of the team is stepping forward and saying, hey, we want a chance to carry as well.
Maybe. But iBoy with his Kalista, last time we saw this, hard carried, and that was against Imp and PYL. And you would have to argue that in a 2v2 sense, Jinzhao and Road is no Imp and PYL.
Oh no.
It's because of how good they are and the caliber with which they carry themselves. iBoy, in his first series of the LPL, put them in the bin. And this game, this set, has been no exception, and you're expecting big things from him now. And with your expectations constantly shifting of EDG's new AD carry, you start to look towards what is his limit, where is his ceiling. And if it's beating Jinzhao and Road one more time, then he's gone through two of the best bottom lanes in the LPL.
He's still got 4 more games to run through if he just sticks with. Looks like we've got a nice hefty leash for Clear Love, once again being assisted by iBoy and Mako. Athena gives a leash over to SKS at that Raptor camp and just trades a little bit of damage with Scout here.
I'd imagine both are going towards Warlords, Bloodlusters. Whatever this question was, EDG are
very far ahead.
They're the answer.
When is EDG not the answer, Rusty?
When you go to quarterfinals of Worlds, and the question is who will win.
That's
you
all right. You got real there.
You
got
asked.
really real. I did. I wasn't expecting you to get real.
I don't know what else I'm going to answer with. You asked a hard question. I gave you the only answer I know. Road started Q.
He did.
I have to understand a bit of wave clear. He does have relic rather, so he's able to last hit with it. But it means he has no lane pressure against a Kalista who's able to walk up aggressively. It's Clear Love.
He's invading the blue buff right now.
Says what up.
Tosses a sapling just to get some additional damage before returning around. So he has a ward, on SKS, and the sapling will spot him on the way around.
And this isn't going to be a level 3 Clear Love. He doesn't have an experienced Quinn after killing the Scuttle. SKS knows there's a sapling and is actually trying to avoid it. In fact, he's going to recall and not reveal himself. Very curious trade out of both of these junglers. I'd say no one wins.
Yeah, plenty of pings now on that bottom side of the map. There is a ward in the river for EDG, so perhaps predicting him to gank instead. We see the push in from iBoy and Mako, and they continue to maintain this forward presence.
You have to assume that he would, and he'd come through the Tribush, which is why Mako's now stepping up. Probably going to clear the explosive plan, if not place another ward at blue, refresh that vision. as he's doing so now and once again finds that Rengar. So EDG, process of elimination works in their favor. They know exactly where he is. Clearlove is the invisible member of the team going towards the blue of his own.
And now they get that vision of the Rengar. They know they're safe. Scout pushes in and gets ward on that top side of the map. SKS will finish off his blue.
I mean, he started Raptors Rengar, so they'll be up in about 30 seconds, I think. So they'll be pretty nicely timed with a ward from Scout to be able to find that Rengar. And every step you take,
every move you make. Mako, uses the grand entrance to leap to safety as he takes a few of the piercing feathers from Jin Zhao.
And was down a level, so he couldn't get out safely with the E.
They actually did drop a control ward in the river to allow SKS to pop over the wall. They've got vision everywhere, so again, that process of elimination.
Flash body slam is all it takes to secure a kill with a Rengar nearby. Road has Ignite, but with the way the minions are starting to shape themselves, the fact that Rengar can't get into the lane to jump means that it's very risky to try and execute something like that. SKS has a super hard time getting into that fight. EDG play aggressively. They're not punished by IMA at all.
There's the trade-off. Krug's being taken by SKS as he continues through, and perhaps a good sign for EDG fans that iBoy is still not being punished.
But they know the Raptors haven't been taken by SKS, and they'd have to assume that he's on the bottom side of the map. Clearlove immediately swaps and goes to the other side. Not sure what SKS is doing against that wall right there, but you know, they're matching each other in jungle clear. So the ward by Athena is in place, and he's lucky that Athena is in 6 to take all of those with a single rocket. But everything will subside with a slight advantage to SKS, taking extra camps.
He did get that Krug advantage. Clearlove makes his way back towards the mid lane to look for his own Raptors.
He'll at least stop the recall. Oh, yeah, he will.
Yep.
Doesn't do damage on impact anymore.
Yep, yeah. It's so infrequent that you see it, but still provides just a little bit. Scryer's Bloom gets some vision bottom. And yeah, now things return back to normal. Let's see if iBoy can continue to harass this bottom lane. He opened up a slight CS advantage. He is on that Kalista, which was so huge for him in his set just a while ago.
And a lot of this game, a lot of this series so far has been about finding where the enemy jungler is and continuing that laning phase. Gragas, Xayah, they're not having a bad time in the 2v2. They're down that wave you mentioned, but it's not a game changer. Mid lane, they're farming, and the advantage is there for Scout. That is in part the aggression that Scout is throwing himself around in the middle lane with. The fact that Clearlove has been nearby oftentimes, and Athena has known that fact. But even with a teleport edge towards the Corki, the advantage is still there for the Lucian.
Ooh, Mako's trying to make something happen here. He misses the grand entrance and so has to back away. As you were saying, though, it's so difficult to play that style, tracking the enemy jungler, when that enemy jungler is Clearlove, one of the most well-informed junglers in the league.
They're
LPL.
teleporting, actually.
Yeah, that's Clearlove
Mouse
making his way bottom. He's got the equalizer. That's the engage onto Road. It's dropped down to the side, and he's going to be burning down the sacrificial lamb to buy some time. Flashes the wall. They're diving onto Jin Zhao. Ignite, and they get the kill. First blood
and
is going to be
still
picked up.
going.
Athena teleports into the grave. Valkyrie's back and burns it down as Mouse takes the turret shots. 3 kills to 0, EDG.
3 kills, uncontested by the side of IMA. Amazing J has no teleport. Athena teleports in and just dies for his trouble. And honestly, that's what you want to see from EDG. They pull the trigger. They say, we are diving that bottom lane. Teleport ward gets placed. No hesitation on the teleport. And it's as Mouse hits 6, as is a Rumble that is 6, as they have a teleport advantage. Scout, he's walking down, so he's there at the right time to catch Road, and there's no escape. And that was beautiful from EDG.
Yeah, they're going to take this Ocean Dragon off the back of it and take a look at the kill distribution. Clearlove gets one to help him get through that squishy Maokai phase. Scout and iBoy, the 280 carries, pick up one as well as Mako. Hops over the wall.
Played a dangerous game with recall timings there, Mako, but he gets out the other side. Slightly delayed by that of the Gragas. You're right, the gold has been distributed quite neatly on the side of EDG. Be very happy with that as the end outcome. Of course, Mouse, maybe not so much. We'll lose out in experience. We'll lose out in CS and a bit of gold, but he'll be okay. Yeah. Of course, opportunities present themselves again in the future.
Yeah, Rumble against that Cho'Gath. He's not going to be under too much threat until Cho'Gath gets a little bit bigger.
SKS is 6. Cho'Gath has his ultimate. He might be big enough. It's a blasting wand only for Mouse on the Rumble, so he is in kill range, I would say. Anytime that SKS looks towards the top side of the map. So the onus is more so on EDG to either bring Rengar around to elsewhere on the map or help pressure for the Rumble. Because everyone else got a lead, everyone else benefited.
the trust ball, Rusty. Who's going to catch you when you sacrifice your own time and experience? Is it going to be EDG, or do they allow Mouse to fall so that they can get Eyeboy and Scout back up?
And you can see on your minimap right now, unsurprisingly, there is a cat stalking towards the top lane. This is exactly what we said might happen. And it's the only lane that really is at risk of dying. And Mouse is, let's just say, he's respecting that fact.
Yeah, he pulls way back as Scout, you can see him trading off with Jin Zhao. Blue buff now being stolen away from Aimee on the other side of the map. Now steps in. He's overheated now. Silenced. Knocked up. The leap. They're doing damage. And he is dead. Amazing J will get the feast kill.
Shut up, Rumble. We get it, you're dead. Aimee are pushing top lane. You know what? We said it's going to happen. I'm sure EDG knew it was going to happen. There are wards placed at the blue buff, though. And Mouse doesn't respect the fact that he might die through a lane gank and get dove. I feel like maybe he just didn't expect them to have enough damage to dive him under a turret, but he was silenced, he was overheated, he was not going to have a good time. And so I may trade. Gold is still equal. EDG have the initiative on the bottom half of the map. They've given the blue buff over to Scout. Things look okay, and the tempo is slightly ahead, but the first turret's big.
Certainly is. A lot of that goes to Amazing J on that Cho'Gath. Ninja Tappy, he's got some more magic resist as Athena just packages back into lane, down just a little bit in CS, but still keeping pace with Scout. But he is slowly losing pressure in this turret, and that first package that he picked up just gave him blue buff and the opportunity to move around a little bit in the mid lane, but it was SKS and Amazing J who were playing around it, not Athena.
Heavy trading from Scout, but remember the reason he's doing this, Mako's actually nearby.
Oh, that's the knock-up and the quickness and the kill. Mako picks it up.
Well, Mako's going to secure himself a kill. The reason that Scout is playing aggressive for the most part is because he has an Ocean Drake, very early Ocean Drake, and he has lifesteal compared to what has to be a Trinity Force rush out of the Corki. So naturally, this lane favors the Lucian through sustain when you're poking and trading, and that's just how both champions interact in the lane. So Lucian wins it, but Mako just happens to be there nearby with his Ignite, with his ultimate and his W ready, does the maximum damage combo to secure a kill onto Athena. And it's just kind of funny to watch Athena on the bottom of your screen not even flinch.
As he dies.
He didn't even say I'm dead, I'm pretty sure.
Just doesn't blink. Single question mark thing in the mid lane. Makes his way back out. He's got Phage and Sheen, but he's still a ways off from that Triforce, whereas Blade of the Ruined King now picked up for Scout. Cinderhulk finished off for Clearlove, and he's building towards that Righteous Glory. So what was just even gold a few minutes ago is now picked back up in favor of EDG.
A lot of that comes down to the fact that EDG are able to win laning phase, and they're able to get that tempo advantage even when Aimee are making good plays. And don't get me wrong, Aimee are making good plays in this game as SKS
leaps in. Look at the damage that they're doing. He flashes back, but they follow through. Frostbomb does a bit, but Athena's forced to flash the wall, and Amazing J.
Don't go to that one.
Yeah. He's pretending to be Jaws as he waits in the brush for someone to step forward. No one does, and EDG find another kill for themselves as they turn the gank of SKS.
I did immediately look over at Scout's summoner spells to see if there was a flash, because he was, but flash wasn't available. It was used earlier. They get themselves the kill onto SKS, who goes forwards, tries to use the fact that he's actually quite large, has 70 CS to the 42 of Clearlove, has got himself an assist from the top lane, and Amazing J was also coming around the corner not too far away. The Cho'Gath is big, but even after killing that Rumble, even after getting the turret first blood, EDG stand resolute and they're able to get themselves the lead.
Now with this, EDG and Aimee swap towards the top side of the map. Bottom tier 1 is still up, but Scout is now unlocked to follow through on that side of the map. As SKS is there, they dash, that's Clearlove, 4 versus 3, and the target is Jin Zhao. He leaps into the air with the Feather Storm, but it's not quite enough. Amazing J teleports in, snare onto Eyeboy. He's knocked up, he flashes, but he's feasted on by Amazing J, and it's chaos as Scout joins in, but he doesn't have enough mana. Athena teleported to follow through with even more. The late teleport from Mouse, the equalizer to prevent chase, but Aimee are following through. He will sacrifice himself so that Mako and Clearlove can survive, but 3 members of EDG die for 1 of Aimee.
And it started so good for EDG here in this game, but there is a big Cho'Gath running around. The teleport's completed. They chose Jin Zhao as the target. Just hit road here, and things would be vastly different for the whole roster. But now they're committed, and they're stuck in this choke point between all of Aimee. where the silences, the knockups, everything from Amazing J is connecting, and there's no way out for EDG. The decision to dive here was very dangerous, very risky, and they are made pay for this because Amazing J comes up super clutch throughout all of it.
Yeah, the flash feast to finish off iBoy, the rupture on top of Scout on the way out.
And this is one of those moments, one of those things where you look at EDG, again, you're like, but they do make mistakes. And after coming back from maybe just trading well, getting advantages, the small details that they'll eventually end a game with that we saw in game number 1 doesn't exist as prevalently in game number 2. They still dive. They still have a good dive, but then a poor dive straight afterwards. And that's where the cracks in the armor start to appear.
Ooh. Mako, good reaction, dashes back, but SKS follows through, another dash. They're continuing to chase forward as Thrill of the Hunt is used. He leaps forward onto Scout. Boss Bomb, quickness, but Mako is slow. He leaps in, the knock-up, SKS! Ignite burning down, but he's healing up, and Mako, he's kiting around this, but Scout is huge. And he finally locks down the kill onto Athena.
Scout is the member with the kills on EDG, and he does find himself another one there. It was a dangerous
but he's
game
healing
that
up,
EDG
and Mako,
were
he's
playing. Mako uses his ultimate and can't catch up with the 50% move speed. Road finds out that walls are harder than you think to get across, but EDG bounced back. And that's the big point you'd look at, because whilst they got the kills, whilst EDG made a mistake, it was only kills. They didn't get a turret. EDG, they get a trade, and they get themselves a dragon for them. For the whole roster, extra combat look at, because and that's they got the kills, while EDG here is a mistake to see this pan. It was only kills, they didn't get a turret. EDG, they get a trade, and they get themselves a dragon. Road, he did the whole roster, extra combat look out, because and once they got the kills, while EDG, they changed takes, SKS, it was only lucky to be alive, get a turret. EDG, they get a trade. Scout, once again dancing around the battle, elegantly finds himself a kill.
Demonstrating why he has the most MVPs in the league right now. 4, 1, and 2 up in CS over Athena, putting up some big numbers as he's going to be gifted red buff right now. iBoy, meanwhile, has had all the time in the world to farm. He's finished off his Blade of the Ruined King and 2 daggers. Not quite the huge carry performance from game number 1 just yet, but he doesn't need to be when you've got Scout doing plays like that.
And speaking of game number 1, we highlighted that Athena might be the place that changes, and we said maybe not. It's usually the team around him. Well, I feel like the team changed around him, but with the amount of focus that's gone down on this lane, we're almost at a point where Scout is just performing that much better than Athena, that the Corki's been able to do nothing. Both package uses have been to get him back to lane after a blue buff, just to get him back to lane. Scout's just walking away with the game.
Ooh, good potential dive here from Amazing J.
They know.
Mouse is getting wise to it this time. Yeah, he sees it coming. Only 2 minions on this turret, but the next wave is crashing in.
But he'll probably equalize to the next wave, Mouse, if he wants to survive with the turret, and he's going to do so. It's a cannon wave, though, so I worry for the health of this turret either way.
Ooh, one final hit, but SKS is able to finish it off along with Amazing J. Meanwhile, Rift Herald picked up by Clearlove. iBoy has a wave prep top, yeah. And they're continuing to move in. iBoy, he's on the turret. Rift Herald still in his inventory.
It doesn't need to be placed. IMA are respecting it and backing away. They don't want to be dove. Teleport's there from Mouse. He's level 10 though, 2 levels behind, and has no equalizer. We just saw it go down. IMA, a lot of respect paid to that fact though. They don't want to fight by any means, and they let turrets drop. They let trades happen.
Just like that, 2 turrets to 2 as Mako has to bounce
Whoa.
back. He's actually teleporting in just behind them. He's caught out by Clearlove, though he is very tanky. They just use a few ultimates to disengage.
There's walk on by. iBoy's in a bit of trouble here.
He's got his flash. Once again, the Rupture catches him mid-auto attack. He's silenced, and iBoy is dead. Another feast for Amazing J. Gets him up to 6 stacks now. 3 champions.
Yeah, iBoy with summoners up just doesn't dodge the Q. I wonder what happened with SKS as Scout and Clearlove.
Flash snare. They're looking for Athena, and they have found him. The culling is canceled. The auto attack locks it down. SKS leaps forward, but EDG
SKS.
don't take the bait. He's inside of vision. He's snared, and Clearlove is right there. Finally dashes away, but they get back to the minion wave that was pushed just a few seconds ago, and they're still getting the damage advantage on this turret.
They are flirting with danger, but they're doing it so well. EDG from top where they get caught to mid where they turn it around and push damage onto a turret, straight down the bottom where they're able to potentially support. Clearlove needs to back up a little bit.
Yeah, Amazing J is a very big Cho'Gath. full 6 stacks right now. He's got 8 stacks on his Dark Seal and the Righteous Glory. But the bottom tier one was broken. It's 3 turrets to 2 now after the trade is said and done.
Exactly. They're working everywhere on the map. They have a strategy. IMA's strategy is all about getting those kills, bragging rights, and the difference in gold between them right now is still there. It's still noteworthy at the end of the day. Scout is so big.
5, 1, and 2.
198 CS.
Yeah, 35 CS ahead. And that's another Zeal.
He's ahead of the clock as well.
Does a Phantom Dancer help against Kog'Maw?
Against Kog'Maw?
Yeah, or not Kog'Maw, Cho'Gath.
Well, Cho'Gath does true damage.
Yeah.
So
does the Phantom Dancer apply any reduction because it is incoming damage?
I would imagine it doesn't reduce the true damage at all, because that's true damage. That doesn't change, and it can't be augmented in any way. But the rest of it, absolutely, I mean, sure. It's more for the Rengar.
Yeah.
And he might even go rapid fire cannon or static shift, depending on if he wants wave clear or range to kite around. But you know, Phantom Dancer is probably the most viable.
I mean, who needs a Phantom Dancer when you've got Clear Love and Mako who are able to set up these waves with iBoy and break down a tier 2? I'm just curious to see how he continues to use this advantage because Clear Love
caught that.
Gets cast out of the channel.
Muppet. Now that was good from Road. That was very good from Road. I think he was just out of vision of a ward, but they can see you channeling it. If memory serves, so Road's able to get in there, blast him away, stop the channel, maybe save a turret for his team. You'd be very happy with that, actually, as EDG have already advanced their vision, though. They're set up not to do it just yet, but at a moment's notice with 2 Blade of the Ruined King users.
It's going to be quite helpful when you've got a Cho'Gath that big running around the map right now. As I was looking to see if Athena would step forward in this game on the Corki. You talked about it a little bit earlier, but against Scout, he was not able to pull out an advantage. It's Amazing J who does it on this Cho'Gath.
And I wouldn't want it on anyone else realistically. If Amazing J gets fed, you're still very happy. If Athena can carry, and then they still kind of work around Amazing J just with a big carry on the roster. So this is all about the Cho'Gath. Rengar is big enough to one-hit people as well. And this is a composition that's got a Kalista and a Lucian. Whilst they're fed, best kill threat.
The Righteous Glory, but Blade of the Ruined King gives Scout enough movement speed.
Oh, he's 1v2 and he's just dashing forward.
He's still chasing in. He knows the glory is there. That's the culling. Interrupted. Boss bomb, and he's still going in. The Flash Feast, but Heal denies it. Oh, the solo kill for Scout.
Scout is an absolute hero. 1v2, does not hesitate, doesn't back away. And I wouldn't blame you for thinking he is a Chinese player, not a Korean. That was not just finesse, that was aggression, and I love everything about it.
Road is trying to step in towards the Ocean Dragon as EDG finish it off, but there's no chance for a contest as it's picked up by EDG. 3 dragons to 0.
And that's 2 Infernals.
Oh boy.
For EDG, once again with the carries everywhere, littered into the roster. Amazing J still a confident player right now. He's still, still very strong, but from what we just saw of the Lucian, I feel like one team is far more confident than the other.
If you have to weigh the swagger between the two, it's like, okay, we've got medium-sized swagger out of Amazing J. But then EDG, they have just... Look at this play from Scout.
We get to watch it again. So Amazing J goes in, and he's trying to Righteous Glory either to slow him down or to knock him up. It's kind of cool, that interaction, that you limit the area that someone can juke you with. But he did. Scout, he's happy to get knocked up here. Doesn't really matter. Amazing J's going to flash in after seeing that. With the timing of the heal, flashing forwards with no hesitation. All of these things, Scout, he knew exactly how much he could do as Lucian, the limits of the champion, how fed he is, and how much damage Amazing J was going to take. Crits aside, he probably would have still had a kill threat.
Finishes off that Phantom Dancer on the recall. I mean, iBoy got to be confident in game number 1. Scout's confident here in game number 2.
Step aside, iBoy. It's my turn to carry.
It's my time to shine.
0-4 to Athena when you contrast these mid laners. It's gotta hurt.
Oh, yeah. Full item
Here they go.
Ahead. They're back on the Baron. They don't have a mountain, but they don't quite need it because they are doing a lot of damage.
Leandri's 2 Blade of the Ruined Kings. They destroy Baron.
It's spotted out. Teleport coming in. This is going to be Amazing J getting into the pit. Smite
Road's
early,
Amazing
and
J
it's stolen. Amazing J gets it. Clear Love panics. Meanwhile, they're fighting in the back. Athena's dead again along with Road. The snare stops Scout from chasing. In the pit, Amazing J will finally eat enough stacks to die. as Jin Zhao and SKS make it out. He's still pushing bottom, but EDG, even without the Baron, they're 5 versus 2.
Very easy play from EDG to go for the Baron, knowing that Rengar is not in the area. But they get the teleport from Amazing Jane. Who needs a smite? Who needs a jungler when you've got a Cho'Gath? They were using Kalista Rend against Cho'Gath Feast. That was the game plan. Really hard to do. But you know what? They get the kills. They get the inhibitor. You'd have to imagine they're still happy with this. For EDG, it just could have been that one step better. Amazing J comes up clutch.
Yeah, Clear Love flashing way too soon. But like you said, Amazing J pulling it together. 3, 2, and 2. SKS, whoa, looks for the assassination. Flashes to follow up. Doesn't go for the bola, but he does have Thrill of the Hunt. No flash. Mouse turns around, sidesteps, but doesn't have enough damage to burn down that Rengar.
That's just getting cheesed right there. SKS just hard cheesed him.
But he is dead.
There's Gouda.
He's got that.
Tasty.
Here it is again.
Speaking of tasty, Cho'Gath teleport in. Yeah, the smite was at 1k. The Rend, not quite there in time, you'd have to imagine. It was at 600 health when Amazing J got the nom off. I think one more auto attack and it would have been right. And then all the Rend stacks just transfer to Amazing J.
I love how even with all of those Rend stacks, it's still not enough to kill him. He's at like 100 health, and it takes one final auto.
And he's about to get a Gargoyle Stone Plate.
Oh, yeah.
Have fun carries.
Great. He's even bigger.
It's a big Cho'Gath. And I mean, that's the one takeaway here. The one saving grace for IMA as a team is that their Cho'Gath has been putting in work. Their Rengar is going Guardian Angel, I believe, and will be one-hitting people. Like, there is strengths there. It's just there are so many more on EDG.
Oh man, Scout leads the charge. 8, 1, and 2. Another tier 2 is broken. The last bastion of defense in that top lane for the final tier 2 of IMA. But SKS is hunting again.
It's kind of funny that the static shift.
And look at all of the pings from EDG. They don't know that he's there, but they think.
I mean, maybe. Where else will he be? There is a top wave. No one is at the top wave.
And immediately all of the follow-up pings. Luckily, he's still alive. He does have the Baron buff, so Empowered Recall gets him away before EDG 5-man collapse.
EDG
Bad
immediately,
kitty.
like, you get back into your base. They push him off. It's all good. Far out. That is a scary cat.
Oh, yeah. All right, taking stock of the items. Quicksilver Sash finished for Scout, so now it's going to be even harder to kill him. Last Whisper for iBoy.
Was it a Baron buff on the minions out of curiosity that spooked Mouse? It might have been.
I don't think he got close enough to the minions for him. I think he might have just suspected.
The range is pretty large.
It's not that big.
Well,
because he was coming in from the river.
When the Baron buff is on them.
Yeah. Maybe. Have to watch the replay to find out. As EDG, without the Baron buff, pushing into that final tier 2. Just setting up some harass, some siege, the double infernal and the mountain, and the ocean to keep them topped up.
I feel like looking at this composition, if you're IMA and you want to get back into the game, Amazing J is going to have to flash with Gargoyles and one-hit Kalista. Scout's still going to be a bigger problem ultimately, but with Kalista gone, the follow-up is huge. As EDG, they've used the Maokai ultimate. They're looking for the turret.
It's chunked down to half. Rupture is dodged by Scout. They've got it down to about 1/3 of its health remaining. Athena might be looking for a package as he's heading back towards base, and Amazing J doesn't have his teleport yet.
They're just afraid of Rengar, really. Every single time he appears on the map, they've backed away, they've respected it. It's a good timing on the recall if they can get some items up. You'd have to look towards what items it's going to be, as we're not allowed to see that. We're allowed to look at Baron anti-power plays.
At least EDG made 1,500 gold from the Baron.
The item that I thought it was going to be was completed. iBoy goes towards the upgraded Last Whisper.
Yeah,
so he'll be maximizing his damage output with the,
Like, especially against the Cho'Gath, yeah. All right, Ocean Dragon is up. Seems like IMA are trying to force it. They've got the package timing on Athena. He's level 15. And they're going to burn through its health right quick. Clear Love is knocked up. It's locked down for IMA. Their first dragon of the game. But Scout, he's just going in. Look at this.
Whoa,
Mako. Knock up Mako with the AoE and the equalizer on top of them. Scout might have gone too far. Flashes the wall. Gargoyle Stone Plate does nothing against the shred coming out of EDG. SKS and Amazing J are dead.
Yeah, they get all the picks that they're after. Cho'Gath was trying so hard to just use the nom onto Scout, procs Gargoyles, and Scout just flashes. He's like, there's absolutely no way. Don't even think about it. And so EDG, they get the picks. Amazing J didn't even use his feast at the end. and 5 members, not a lot of ultimates, but 5 strong members barrel down mid lane against the 3 of IMA. There are still carries, there is still wave clear. This is risky from EDG.
Oh, Road goes in, but he's caught with the AoE. There goes the ultimate, and they lock him down. 2 quick kills as Athena dashes back onto the fountain, and he is dead. The ace for EDG as they are going to turn onto the Nexus and break it down. 2-0 for the Big Brothers.
Yeah, they'll kill some people first. Amazing J's going to try his best, but it's over, Dom. You're absolutely right. EDG, they just waltz into the middle lane after a couple of picks, and no, it's not over. It's not over yet.
It's, in fact, not over. The inhib respawns.
Cancel the victory music.
They turn onto the Nexus.
And it's not quite. It's not quite. And no, you know what? We're still going.
Let's turn the music up. There it is.
And the damn game.
Now we turn the music up. What a timing.
We've been trolled.
The inhibitor.
Everyone's been trolled. Even production
no
were like,
one saw that coming. Yeah.
Don't cue music, remove it.
I like how unexpected they were. It's like, wait, how come he's not reacting? How come he's not smiling?
The one MVP was the lights guy.
Yeah, he kept them down
because
the whole time.
Lights were dimmed. They didn't turn back up.
Come on, turn the lights on. You need to get the camera angle.
Imagine turning to the inhibitor after the game doesn't end and being blinded by some production lights.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
MVP light guy.
EDG will walk it on down. Some smiles and laughs all the way across the board. You can't help but laugh at a moment like that.
There's a lot to take away from that. The game ending. Amazing J, remember, former EDG member, so it's all fair play between both of these teams. And you'd want it if you're Amazing J. You'd want to be able to get some revenge. He did. He destroyed Mouse. And that's why Mouse was a little bit salty. Comes up to him and says, "God damn it, Amazing J, you smacked me around with your Cho'Gath, but I still won the game."
Scout fans get a chance to celebrate once again as he shows why he's the MVP leader of the league right now. And strong argument for MVP here in this final game as well.
I think we'll be looking at that MVP vote for game number 2 and saying if it's not Scout, we'll be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
Big performance coming out of him. Just the individual flair from the player was substantially higher than game number 1. They swap who's carrying. The fact that EDG have now got the ability to alternate who the hard carry is. Once again, that's very big for them.
Still sticking to some of those old EDG strengths, though, as it is usually that bottom lane, as iBoy was able to carry in game number 1, but Scout showing, hey, he can also carry as well. Look at that gold graph.
And you will note a lot of spikes there, and it's not a smooth sailing road towards victory for EDG. The spikes were when IMA fought back, but it was also where EDG made mistakes during those periods of time where IMA were able to fight back. And IMA caught the throws, but the throws didn't result in an objective to fall down with it, and that was the name of the game here in game number 2. EDG would make a mistake, IMA would say, "Thank you very much, I'll take the 600 gold, but I can't get anything else with it."
That damage from Scout. I mean, you said it yourself multiple times. I may find the kills. EDG, on the other hand, whenever they find a kill, they also find a dragon.
And it was an Infernal as well, as if God forbid they get any more RNG to favor them.
Oh, man. Just taking that extra step to get closer to the Nexus, closer to the finish line. And with this win, EDG now take first place in the group. They were tied in win-loss and actually were ahead in points over WE. And now they're even further. Good performance out of EDG, bringing them to first in the group here, and it looks good for them.
Yeah, it does.
I actually really like something that you mentioned during the course of the game, how the confidence of the players is still growing. So even though we see them occasionally drop games to Dan or Suning Gaming, they still come out swinging against EDG, or excuse me, LGD and lower tier teams like IMA.
Yeah, certainly right. And a lot of that you'll see reflected through game number 2 with Scout in particular, but iBoy, the confidence, the swagger in game number 1, it's just consistent through the whole roster. And you do have to feel like, against Scout, he's not a rookie to the team, but he is one of the newer members. Mako Clearlove, the experienced older members of the team. But iBoy comes in, and with the confidence he has, it clearly shows the support of EDG. Not just the players, but the organization are there to empower him. They know that he's a strong player, and they say, we're not going to just put you on the Ash. That's game 1, get the Judas out. Now you're confident, you're carrying us. Like, it's our turn to take the backseat as the experienced members to let the young mechanical players come through.
Yeah, and we saw it in spades in that Kog'Maw game, stepping forward multiple times, redefining the Juggernaut just a little bit by always being in the front, even though he did go for the defensive build. But just the team following through and supporting this new AD carry. They mentioned that scrims were going well. I don't think anyone expected the scrims to be going this well.
Yeah, and the context always has to be laid out flat. Of EDG, that was a really good performance in game number 1. That was one of the cleaner performances we've seen in them. Game 2, a bit more shaky. I wasn't too sold on how they played it out, except for the individual performances. The team play was where they were still shaky. And so you look towards, if EDG play against Team WE again, can the same thing actually happen? And can these individual outplays work? Scout MVP very much deserved for the plays that we're talking about. But what if that's Xie on the other end of it, not Athena in the mid lane? What if he's playing against someone that is of a higher caliber player
Xiaohu
and they can defuse
or
him?
Icon? Yeah.
Exactly.
Someone who can actually take it apart well.
Rookie.
Yeah, exactly. We do get a chance to see EDG versus Invictus Gaming one more time before we get into playoffs. That's still a few weeks away. Of course, EDG are playing up against Dan next week. This was their only game of the weekend. So they get a chance to prove whether or not they have learned not to be the sleeping bear once again, but to be the active and angry bear against Dan Gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we saw moments of it as well. I've been very impressed with them, and I can't say that enough from Iboy in particular. I do feel like he's living up to the prodigy that we expected of him in this team. Working with Mako seamlessly. Mako's just such a strong support player and obviously vocal enough in the team. The fact that I believe Iboy is a Chinese player as well. I'll have to get corrected if I'm wrong on that. I'm sure Frostgreen will tell me very quickly. But if he is a Chinese player, then communication, the seamless transition into the roster will naturally then be better. And all of this is reflecting very positively with how EDG have been playing at the moment.
Yeah, I know at least there was one moment where I was really impressed where it was Clearlove and Mako were sitting inside of the Tribush on top lane. They cleared out a ward, saw another one place, got 2 attacks, and then immediately after the ward disappeared from their vision, Iboy roamed around, dropped a control ward, let Mako get that last auto attack. So the communication seems to be seamless from what we're seeing. And again, just rotating around that side of the map and enabling this new carry to really fulfill the shoes for them. We did still see some good things from IMA, though they did go down 0-2 in this series. They sort of stepped forward in game number 2, whereas traditionally they'll wait for the 50-minute coin flip, the 50-50. They were taking a more proactive step with SKS, with Athena on that Corki, though he wasn't able to pull it off.
It was proven in game number 1 that sitting back and doing nothing loses you the game against EDG. And the one thing that I like, and we said this earlier in the week actually for IMA in their last set, they got the 2-0, is that after the series and as it progressed through the series, they were learning, they were getting better. They came back from game number 1 into game number 2, and they developed and grew just through laning, just being told through the coaches and developing very quickly how to play it out even better, even with similar matchups. So they're growing quickly as it goes. IMA, they're getting better as the season progresses. The playoff buff that we talk about jokingly isn't necessarily a playoff buff. It's just that IMA get better as the season progresses for themselves. Again, their coaching staff used to work with EDG. They're a very clued-in team. They work hard. They're able to grow quickly. Even through this set is the good example of this, right? They got smacked in both games. But the difference between game 1 and game 2 is they said, okay, we're not going to play slow. We're not going to just scale. We're going to fight you. And we're going to try and at least equal you in the early game. And maybe things change here. EDG looked like the better team on the day. I may still show resilience. Yeah,
they were still demonstrating knowledge of their of their strengths, I should say. Amazing Jay on that Cho'Gath still was able to put up good numbers and explain why that was banned in game number 1. And they were sort of able to try playing around with this. Not to mention the fact that they did catch the mistakes from EDG, even if they weren't able to take that extra step and do something with them.
Yeah, certainly. And yet I would still look towards in this set for IMA Athena and not really know what happened to him. Between days, how has he gone from a hard carry of the team to honestly underperforming? And I wonder if it was just that he got outclassed completely here in this set. The way that Scout played it out, he looked fantastic. I don't think anyone was going to slow him down. Athena's meant to be a class player, though, meant to be a slow, methodical, very hard to beat in lane player. I mean, he's a Victor guy. Like, that's hard to beat in lane. And suddenly comes in, plays the cork, he just gets out-mechanics.
Out-pushed by Illusion, out-roamed by Illusion, out-carried. It's a tough say, but hopefully he can pull it together. They get a chance in just a few weeks to play again, but we've got our next best of 3 coming at you in just a few minutes. Dan are taking on Snake as Pulse is going to helm the desk.
时候已经打成了一个0换3了。
看队友怎么选择。
先过来打一套海德斯，最后终结放了一下钩索跑路被晕到，准备交个闪，秦朗也战术后方减速到了，很漂亮啊，但又挂到了一个减速。高温鱼叉加疗英雄登场，能救下来吗？触发了一个护盾，这个被动的护盾很关键。哇，杜朗护盾在嘲讽到，那没了，那这亏大了。巴德给大了，没打到，大招，大招闪现大招，把团队开了起来，这里发大招裸男。风神榜直接被秒了，这里小虎可能要被大嘴喷死了，这边黄继堂挡不住大嘴的输出，这波司令打得非常的漂亮，这里的回血阵也是打了出来，一波0换5，姿态的一个天秀时刻，先交闪，然后在 AB 过来的时候再交一波魔影迷踪，确实草丛跟乐芙兰的象限也很气，
对，特别是在上路这个地方，
而且第一段被动没挂到也很关键，这个在这边大招被魔影迷踪回去，
回头还秒了一个辅助，
是的，交 Q。然后在魔影迷踪加 RW， 再回到 W 的位置，然后又回到 R 的位置，利用这个草丛落过来，给了个鸟盾，再交到魔影迷踪，差点就给他跑了，轻兀成双，给了2段，但是最终被潜力形态的搜寻猎物给收掉了。这波混战，1线的血不他妈拔毛，但是皇子上不去了，但是皇子直接被秒了，不然大概是拉到1个 Z 被秒。但杜玉妹这边能跑掉，鳄鱼 TP 的位置不是特别好啊，这边鳄鱼有大招，在这大龙圈里面，怎么说能鳄鱼能进场，一过来 Q 一下，被挂了个虚弱，伤害不够，拔毛这边是拔死了鳄鱼，这边 EDG 可能要撤了，惩戒回下血，这边 Scout 还在尽量的输出，在这里想偷峡谷先锋之也是被拿掉了，羽毛这边扑一个双杀 Triple Kill， 卡比这边能出来吗？伤害不太够，拔毛要被风筝了。
一直 OMG 是把W 的人拉到这个狭小的空间里，我们看到
兰博大招是有用的，
是一个绕后的位置，然后 Icon 先消耗一波 W 定住，
对，先把加里奥第一个大有用，但是武器进场了，看到兰博闪现过来，
进场，我们看兰博的大有没有丢到一个狭小的空间里，不错，兰博的大招位置还可以，
但老鼠的输出好像更高，而且加里奥还有前面嘲讽到了3个人，金身逼了出来，准备把司马老贼给斩掉的话，那金身结束的夕阳也是瞬间被西野给击杀，西野拿到了一个 double kill。那这边拿到位置手够长，回到2个。哎，这个反手来看一下这边的一个团战进场了。如果反手碰到了对方的2个人，下一次得到了一个解扣，小猫被小猫倒了。大舅子这波的一个羽毛非常的一个致命，再一次看到贝雷的翩翩起舞进场以后，趁大队长虽然自己死了，但是挖掘机也殒命，自杀，夸张 kill， 大舅子帅。
Welcome back to the LPL, and we're coming in for our second series of the day between Dan Gaming and Snake. And this one will be a spicy one because heading into this match, Raz and I were talking, who is next to me, by the way. Hello, Raz. How are you doing today? Well,
hey.
We were talking, and you were saying that Dan Gaming, they probably have the longest loss streak in the history of the LPL. And I was like, Raz, that can't be true. Then I looked it up, and they've lost 7 games in a row.
Well, 7 sets, and so you have to have that caveat because in the history of the LPL, they've had best of 2s, best of 1s, but when you get into the best of 3s, of course, the last, or at least the last longest loss streak, was Hyper Youth Gaming, and they're tied with them at 7 apiece. So right now, if Dan loses to Snake, they have the longest series loss streak in the history of the LPL. And it's insane to even imagine that because Dan coming into the LPL, of course, a lot of teams were pretty down on them. You know, being the 3rd place LSPL team, being able to get past Vici, I was like, okay, well, that's a lot of people looked at that and said, that's a fluke. You know, you give Easy Hoon some time in the ring. You say, okay, now you get out there. And then, you know what? Vici should win that set. But Dan got past that hurdle, came out of group stages, or at least the initial 3 weeks of it, with a 4-1 first place setting right now in Group A, and then the hill starts to look pretty bad. You know, they get past that, and it looks really bad for Dan Gaming. Now they have to go up against Snake, and they really need to get out of this rut because I made sure they lost their last set, but they are tied with them in win-loss, and it's about the point. The only thing that's giving Dan a lead in this with Aimee is just the points itself, so they need to actually get some wins on them.
Yeah, imagine going into a day and saying, I'm going to tip Snake today. Like, that is crazy.
And we both did that.
We both did it, Raz. We're both saying that Snake are going to take the win today. And honestly, after seeing that 7 series loss streak from Dan where they are 4-14 in their record, that is insane. I didn't even, I could have swore that they had picked up a serious win, but they have not in cross-conference, and not for a long while, and even coming back into their own group, they are still in struggle street.
And it's definitely bogging on their mentality. That's a major point about this, because going into this, they have to be coming up and saying, we're going to win at least one set, especially this week where they had to go up against Aimee, and now today, of course, Snake. They had to win at least one of these games to at least boost some morale. Losing their last set definitely set them behind, and now Lies in the top lane, Kara in the jungle, Goong in the mid lane, Choo and Cat, they're bringing out their full A team right here because they do not want to continue this loss streak.
And I honestly wonder what the split would have looked like if they just kept the A team out there for the entire split, but at least we get back into their own group and they can do it once again. They'll be facing down Snake with Flandre in the top lane, SOFM, Zatai, OQ, and Hoodie in the bottom lane.
And what's scary for Dan is that they can't even say with full confidence that this is going to be an easy set for them, because Snake, the last time we saw them, actually 2-0'd Invictus Gaming. That was incredibly, I would say that it looked easy for Snake, but they were so far behind up against Invictus Gaming, especially in Game 2 when they brought in Kid for IG, but they still brought it back because the individual talent, especially of Zatai, who's been really coming back into this, into the, I guess, the names of top mid laners. It's very scary for the lineup of Dan Gaming.
And you can just see, like, over general stats for both of these two teams, they are remarkably similar, and that's like insane to think when you think back to Dan in their own group at the start of the split, and they were like top of the table, Snake firmly at the bottom,
yes.
And now they are very, very similar in where they are in the league.
That's true. Honestly, the only thing that sets those two teams apart was the last statistic, and I can only imagine what that says, because I know that Dan is still rather high when it comes to Baron percentages, just the monster objectives, because that has been their major priority from the beginning of the split to the end of the split. And this team, of course, Snake, will have recognized that. There's a lot of footage about how Dan wants to play the game, and so Dan has to change things up. The last time we saw Dan play up against Aimee, they played a slower-paced game. Aimee played a faster-paced game, so Dan is learning, or at least they're trying to learn how to patch up their weaknesses. It's just pretty damn late into the split.
Problem is, Raz, they came in as a gimmick team, and it was like, this is amazing. They'll go for like that 20-minute Baron every single time, and like it took so many teams off guard, and that's why they started picking up wins, because there was like, surely a competitive team on the LPL stage, the biggest league in the world, would not rush a 20-minute Baron, and then they did it every single game.
Game after game after game. You're like, nah, it's not going to happen this time around, and you just keep getting mixed up. It's funny. It's kind of like fighting games where it's just like, this guy's not going to keep throwing the same punches. I've just lost the game.
How could this have happened to me? Basically a bronze versus a challenger, and then suddenly I'm in the dumpster.
Yep. And so, of course, manning the stage behind the team, of course, BSYY. And the biggest point about this is that you could see the changes in the team. There are marked improvements. It's unfortunate that it's come this late into the split, but now that they have, I would suppose, started bringing the marquee players, starting them at least in Game 1, you can see them starting to grow as a team and starting to, I would say, let's say, respect their opponents.
And honestly, it's just building from the ground up, and I don't feel like the first couple of weeks even gave them that, because they were still gunning after that single gimmick. We'll take a look at the bans here. Snake will be Rumble, Zac, and Elise. On the opposite side, Dan will ban away Maokai, Rakan. And I believe that's Cockmore as well. And it will be a first pick of Cho'Gath for Dan Gaming.
Yeah, Cho'Gath, of course, 7.14, major pick, major flex. So Dan being able to pick this one up, you would assume that it can go to Lies, but especially in the LPL, we've seen a lot of mid lane Cho'Gaths. So that's a three-way flex pick.
Yes, it is. Snake looking towards their couple first picks now. It will be Thresh over to Hoodie. And it will be a Kalista pickup. They were hovering over the Kayn, of course, because SOFM has shown his Kayn before, but it will be Kalista to start us off.
Yeah, Kalista, Thresh, immediately you can see the focus coming out of Snake, that they want this bottom lane to be the primary focus. Now, with Elise being banned, it'll be a little bit sad that they can't just have that easy, you know, go to bot lane, see if you can get gank after gank after gank, but you'd have to expect SOFM to pick up a highly impactful jungler like a Gragas, for instance, to see if he can get a few kills in the bottom lane.
Yep, Tamkenj and Caitlyn for Dan Gaming here. And back over to Snake for their final pick of their first rotation. Where do you think they'll go, Raz? You got a couple seconds for a prediction.
Oh, you know what? I feel like I can't even make the prediction. It would be cheating just because Shen feels like a legitimate pickup with Kalista being up and available. So you know what? Yeah, I can't do it. You gave me 0 time.
No,
all right?
Raz,
I'm
I
gonna
gave
blame
you a freebie. I set you up
can't do
for
it.
success.
That's
you
cheating.
just had to say Shen, and then they lock in the Shen, and you look like a cop.
I would look like a cheater, all right? The people will decide. Spam Twitch chat, spam my feed. What would I look like if I gave you that answer?
Oh, come on, Raz.
I'd look like a cheater. I'd look like a bad man.
Alright, next phase of bans, Gung is going to have his Talia taken away from him. Kane against SOFM, so it's a little bit interesting that we didn't get an early pickup of the Kane there for SOFM because he pretty much knew it was going to be taken away from him on the second phase.
Okay, yeah, Kane is a big one. And of course it is SOFM, so you'd expect Dan to have done their homework on SOFM style of jungle. And of course, here's the biggest point about this. You can't stop SOFM. In fact, I wouldn't even have think that he would gone towards the Kane. I mentioned Gragas for a reason. I do think that he's going to take the easy way out. Ease of execution is the way to go if you're Snake, and it seems like they're going to play around OQ. And what's best to do that with a high ganking jungler? Doesn't matter if the Tom Kench is picked out for Cat. Oh, they're even going to hide it.
Wow.
All
okay.
right.
Yeah, Orianna for mid lane for Zatai, so hiding that jungle pick.
A lot of shields, a lot of engage. Feels like Snake have just gone all in on the protection comp for OQ. You're playing with my heart. You're really playing with my heart right here. With that Skarner hover.
I forgot Skarner existed, honestly.
There was that one game. It was played by KT, and that was it. That's when people were like, ah, yes, Bomb Me Cinder is a thing. A lot of these tank junglers can get away with it, and we never saw it again because Skarner is still a very... I wouldn't say useless champion because he has his uses. And you know what? They're holding out to it. Actually, this could be it because Cat, yeah.
Oh!
You know what? All right. They actually held it for Cat because he wanted to just swap it with Karn.
Is this the second Skarner we've seen in the entire, like, Season 7
I'm going to say yes. I'm just going to say definitively yes.
I'm looking this up.
That's it. The score, and it's, unless if there is a, let's say, developing region that has just gone towards a Skarner pick. But this is insane. Immediately you can see that that focus is going to be all on Karn to get fast clears and just try and pick someone up. It's going to be OQ, and that's what's fun about this. He really wants to at least go for that flash ulti onto OQ.
Okay, so we remember the KT game,
yes.
And that was played into MVP. Revolta played it in Brazil.
Of course.
He also played it into Elise and went 0, 2, and 12. So.
All right. Was that a win? That was a win, right?
No, it was a very much a defeat.
0, 2, and 12. That's, for me, that looks good because of those 12 assists. It's always about the assists for the game. You know what? But yeah, it looks like immediately you can see what Dan are doing. We talked about them being that cheesy type of team. This, my friend, bit of Gouda. Just a little bit. Now, they know they're going into a protection composition, which makes Skarner a smart pickup just because you want to be able to get a flash engage onto that primary pickup. So bypass the bodyguards. Get straight towards the Kalista and pick her up.
I can tell you for a fact that the Snake coach just washed his hands after shaking hands with
you know what, I would
the
too.
opposing coach.
I would too. I would too. Don't
Final
blame him.
pickup of Skarner. Oh boy, can't wait for this one. It's been so long since I casted the Skarner as, like probably over a year.
I do not remember. I don't even think I've casted a Skarner. Just gonna say that right now.
Well, look, I spent a long time casting European challengers, so I saw some Gouda. I saw some well-aged Wensleydale. And sometimes you would see like a Skarner come out, or you know, Kozki would be like, "Gonna bring out the Akali," and then he'd troll me, and then actually just bring out Cassiopeia again. But it was like that one time.
He loves his Cassiopeia and Vladimir's.
Yeah,
man. But you gotta pick, and you love to see it happen. Dan Gaming going to the Skarner pick, with honestly just trying to get a game for themselves. So this is gonna be fun, especially with the composition that they have. They have to, you know what? I feel like Karn and Goon, they're going to be together a lot this game. Because the Syndra pickup, get a stun, whoever it is, stun the person, flash on the person. Now, if the Skarner pickup, if you can, you know, hop in the Uber ride, bring him to this, to basically anyone on the team, and you just try and blast them. I love this.
Of course, that also changes Summoner's Rift. I know there's probably going to be a bunch of people watching this broadcast right now who have either never seen a Skarner or don't know what Skarner does, because he's a very rare champion, even in your normal games or your ranked games. So when you have a Skarner on the Rift,
Here we go.
they have these crystal spires that you can control. And if anyone remembers Dominion, you can... Yeah, someone's paused the game right now. It's like, something's wrong with my Summoner's Rift. Why are these spires here?
Yeah, what's happening here? Is this
Yeah.
Season 8 already?
And you've got to control these spires. So anyone on your team or anyone on the enemy team can sit on these spires and capture them. It takes a couple seconds. You don't really need to do anything. You just need to stand there. And then it gives Skarner a couple different buffs. One of those is attack speed.
Yes.
And just makes him generally stronger. Also restores his mana as well while you're on those pads.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, think of it like when Trundle is fighting on his frozen domain. Kind of like that.
Exactly. And so a lot of it just comes down to being able to control those spires within your own jungle at the very least, so you can have a faster clear time. So just getting that, recognizing that if an enemy jungler comes in, if you have to just constantly look to defend your spires immediately, Skarner would be a bad pick. But if he has stronger lanes, if he has lanes that can actually protect his clear for the most part, he's going to be able to come out of the jungle quicker and a lot more healthier, a lot more CS underneath him. You might even be taking the Krugs more often. So a lot of the times, him being able to rush to level 6 feels like an assured path for him. And so a lot of the times is, well, okay, he's going to come out of the lane, or he's going to be coming out of the jungle level 6 pretty quickly. He's going to have flash, and which lane is he going to bully? Which lane is he going to get onto immediately? And it feels like he does have very clear a path, I would say. It's in the top side of the map. Being able to help out the Cho'Gath, being able to help out this the Syndra, he will get a kill, and I feel like the power is going to be in the counter ganks. So a lot of the times, like just thinking of it from SOFM is a smart jungler, and so for him, he needs to track the Skarner. He needs to limit the movement of Skarner. He needs to make it so he can impact the lanes, or at least protect the lanes, and so Skarner doesn't get an easy gank path off.
And the reason why I like cheese picks or these very, off-meta, unorthodox picks like the Skarner,
That's because it's you.
is because, yeah, A, it's me, and B, if you're playing into it in your SFM, you probably don't know exactly what it does, right? You don't know that when you're on one of these pads, if I get stunned, he gets extra movement speed. He gets extra attack speed. Like, if I trade on one of these, does it work out for me? I don't really know. Like, it's very difficult to trade up against Karin, because it's just like, how important is every part of his kit? And Karin knows this one inside out because he's been practicing. So you have that inherent advantage over your opponent because they simply don't have the knowledge. Right now, they're just bringing up the wick here, and they're just like, what does Skarner actually do?
That's true. And here's the fun thing about this, and well, it's fun for me, not a lot of fun for a lot of people, because even though Skarner, you're like, oh, I want to learn so much about it, I want it to succeed, because if a game of Skarner succeeds, you might see a bit more in the later games, later on in the split, maybe even the playoffs. But I'm gonna smash down the unfun train and say that right now Snake have such a good composition to deal with it, right? The Gragas is one pick that I was kind of hitting on a lot in the pick and ban. Gragas does very well for Snake very early on in the game because, of course, he's going to be heading down towards the bottom lane. He started top side. He's going to end bottom side. Even if he doesn't get a gank off now, in the next 2 minutes, that pressure is going to be there. Choo-Choo and Cat will never have the ability to deal with that. And so Skarner is going to have to try and speed up his, I would guess, early pathing, because he wants to sit in his jungle for about 5 levels. He's not going to have that opportunity to do so because SOFM is going to be immediately setting the pace. And then, of course, mid-game, late game, Skarner, engage, Cass comes through, either pushes Skarner away or the rest of his team, so the follow-up just isn't there. So I love the Gragas pick specifically into Skarner.
And while we're on the party pooping train, Hootie is going to be great into that as well. There's so many knockbacks, displacement, extra movement speed. You've got the target you're trying to lock down into Kalista. She's going to hop away from you. Like, Flandre is there protecting as well. And maybe you drag in one of the carries, and then you've also got a Shen. And you didn't want that buy one, get one free, because Shen's going to taunt your carries at that point. So it's difficult in that sense, but there's always the X factor when you bring out a pick like this.
That's true. And a lot of it comes down to, let's say, free gold. You know why it's free gold? Because suddenly people have to invest in more QSSs. And so for Snake, especially for Kalista, now you have to think about it, well, how am I going to fit this QSS into my build? If I'm ahead in this game, if we have this early game lead, very easy decision to do that. If we're behind, they need my damage, not so easy. So for Snake, getting that early game lead is going to be all the more important.
Now, Skarner, one of the very few champions in the game that has a suppress in his kit, which is an ultimate impale. And you can see actually no one has brought cleanse because cleanse doesn't work against suppressors. You have to get QSS.
I can assure you at least one of these players, and so like you have done that, going cleanse against Skarner, because a lot of times you don't see it a lot. So you're like, well, I'm not really exposed to suppression that much, unless if you're playing up against Warwick. I'm gonna try this out, and then you lose a kill really early on in the game. Like, well, I've learned this lesson. I will carry this lesson to my grave. Yep,
you learn the hard way against Skarner. And you know he'll be building Righteous Glory as well, not only because the item is really good right now, but because Skarner really, really needs it, so he can get into melee range to use his ultimate.
That's actually one of the biggest reasons Skarner would be a great pick, is because Righteous Glory, the changes to it, every tank is building it. The Maokai is building it, the Cho'Gaths are building it, 100% Karn's going to be building it. If he doesn't, it's only because Lies would have it, and you'd be like, well, I don't want to snack these actives, so you know what, I'm just going to try and go for an efficient path.
Oh, Cat. He's just got an OQ, and he's put the trap as well. Takes the lantern back, a flash out, and the 2v2 kill over to Choo Choo. Hoodie's not gonna get away as well without a good beating.
That's a 2v2 kill.
I know.
That is insane, especially since we're talking about Snake needing this early game to work well on the bottom side of the map, and they just got bopped.
Hello, Hoodie? That, you can't do that. You just drag Cat into it, but SFM's here as well. Cat has to hit the Grey Help, but they actually want to turn this kill onto Hoodie. Teleport out from Flandre as well. Everybody's coming down. A Torn lands onto Choo Choo, and Cat, they've actually left him alive for dessert, it looks like. Choo Choo wants to put the damage down onto Hoodie, but after all of that, it's a double to Snake.
You know what? Chess, my friends, chess. Hoodie knew all along that he had a card in his back pocket. So he just brings in the Shen card. The TP comes in, and you just don't expect it. You know, it's like, why is the support holding the wave? That man is stupid. I'm not going to allow that to happen. And then they pay the iron price. So that's very sad for Dan Gaming to get a 2v2 kill and then immediately just lose both their lives. Good recovery, though, from Snake.
Yep, good recovery, but also just paying on that bloodlust from Dan Gaming. You know, they will always go for that 100% of the time, and that's just a good read on your opponent.
That is. It's fun that they can make the call that quickly, recognizing that SOFM was going to be on that side of the map, recognizing that they weren't going to have the damage, or at least it was going to take a very long time to take Tahm Kench's life with just the 2v2. And so you bring in that Shen as well on a proper ward, and suddenly suddenly you turn what was a very bad misfortune to an opportunity to a kill.
Who was the winner of the Street Fighter tournament at EVO? What was his name? Do you remember? Yeah. You remember what he said in the interview, Raz?
What did he say?
That all of his preparation for this match was essentially downloading his opponent and figuring out how he plays for the reads.
That's true.
And that feels like what Snake have done in this game.
Yeah. Definitely felt like a read. But to be honest, you could read most opponents in a 2v1 and saying, you know what? If they just see a support holding the wave, they're like, that's greedy. Snake, greedy team. That immediately I'm going to assume greed. And so they push in and they lose their lives. So now, of course, Dan are going to recognize that. Even in this game, maybe in the next game, and they're going to recognize, okay, Hoodie's holding the wave. I'm not immediately going to assume that he's not playing smart. Suddenly, that's instant respect that Dan has to put into the new support.
Karen, I can definitely call that a waddle. I think that Skarner waddles.
Yeah. Get a few waddlers out there in the League of Legends, and you just love them.
That's true.
Nunu's one of them.
He's a waddler.
Yeah. You just see instant rise in play just because of the walk animation for a lot of these champions. Or at least for me. Some people might not like waddlers.
I can see that. Tahm Kench is another one for sure.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, Karen, man, Skarner is such an old champion who's changed a bunch. Like, he's had more added to his kit over the years, but rarely does he ever come back into the meta. Rarely has he played.
Yeah, it's mostly because at least his play style competitively has always remained the same. That if you are winning with Skarner, his impact feels low. If you're losing with Skarner, his impact and then your loss would be like, wow, he did nothing this game. There's like a massive meme about, let's say, Cacao's Skarner in Worlds, because it felt like he did nothing. Because if your lanes lose, suddenly Skarner's like, well, he's not going to do any damage because he's in, like, yeah, he's a melee champion, but it feels like he has a negative range. He needs to be right on top of you to get most of his damage off. But if he's ahead, of course, he can do so much. You're probably not going to be building QSS because you don't want to lose more damage just because you're going up against Skarner. So, yeah, Skarner's one of those champions. Win more if you're ahead. Lose a lot if you're behind.
And even if he is ahead, it still feels like he doesn't do much. He's going to give it a shot in the top lane. He's got his ultimate. Flandre, good shadow dash away. And Karin, oh, he's coming for him.
Yeah.
Forces the flash out from Flandre.
Good respect, because if Karin throws out his slow, immediately turns into an auto attack stun, you're like, I should have flash. So the man gives him respect.
Skarner does have a lot of CC in this kit, though. As you said, Fracture gives him a slow. He has a stun as well, and he's got a suppress.
Yeah.
So for single targets, he can be very annoying in these ganks.
Yeah, that's one of the changes I really liked about Skarner over the years, that they just wanted to give him more reliable CC, be it slows, stuns. It's great. Big fan of it.
Yeah, there was a time when his kit was like really weird, and it was like mini stuns. So it was like 0.25 second stuns, and it was based off his Q. So you just like stun, and then you just run away. Stun, and you run away. And it was just like, this is bad.
One thing I love about League of Legends compared to most games, patch changes come like every other week, of course.
Yeah.
And so you just get changes where it's like 1 week, like when the Skarner changes went through, it's like, wow, he is a broken champion. He does way too much. You just had a mini meta of which Skarner is like, you ban him, you pick him, and you're just like, I hate my life because Skarner exists. And of course they nerfed him to a reasonable point, so you're like, okay, well now we're in a meta or a stage where Skarner means nothing. So at the very least, it feels like he's going to have impact this game because he's able to pressure topside for quite a bit, keep up in CS, and already has his CC Cinderhulk item. So he's in a pretty good spot. Now it's going to be up to Snake to play around that, especially with Karin always having flash up, because his picks doesn't have to just be Oki. It can be SOFM. SOFM wants to be the one who starts the fight, and he's gone towards the AP jungle item. He's rather squishy. So sure, he does a lot of damage, and if he starts out the fight, whoever Gragas goes on to is dead, unless if it's Cho'Gath. But yeah, if Gragas finds himself mispositioning, he's a dead Cho, or at least a dead Skarner.
Very true. And for now, this the game has definitely slowed down after we had all of that action in the bottom lane. And just from how I've been seeing these trades as well, like Oki and Hoodie have certainly woken up in that lane. They've just been absolutely smashing Tutu and Cat following the game.
It's hard to deal with the Kalista Thresh, it really is. Even if you get the early gold, early kills, even if you have the exhaust, you just don't want to deal with it. Even if you have the Tahm Kench, you're like, well, you just engaged on the Tahm Kench.
Oh, who's going deep, but he knows SOFM is just off to the side. He comes in, flash, body slam, pops the ultimate. They really want Cat. They know they have to jump on it because he's just going to save Choo-Choo. Shockwave, and that doesn't even get the assist. It looks like, oh, he just got the assist. OQ secures the kill.
Yeah, it was hard to get the kill because the terrain made it so no one got popped into the team, but they end up getting the job done anyways. Ooh, Karin.
Yeah, he's locked underneath that tower. Good response from Flandre. Might actually pick this 1 versus 2 kill up. At the very least, gets the flash.
At the least, Dan also get the turret. So it should be first turret gold for the team, and it's all going to be on Cho'Gath. But Snake are in a great position to trade up. So it should be, of course, the tower and the dragon, unless if Dan has anything to say about it.
It's Infernal as well, so this is really good for Snake. That being said, you know, full gold going over to Lies on a Cho'Gath.
Yep.
Like, we've seen what Cho'Gath can do with like an early double kill, and that's essentially a double kill what he just got there, 650 gold.
Yeah, even just in the last game, sure, Amazing J lost. Aimee lost the game. Oh, speaking of losing, team fight's happening.
Yeah, Cat wants to come in here. Lies hits the teleport. Zatai stuns up. Shen, ultimate right on top of Zatai. He'll flash the wall, gets Flandre out of there as well. So resources burnt from Snake, but they still got the dragon.
Yeah, there's no strong follow-up to get the kill onto Orianna. The silence has basically made it so Zatai had to just wait it out, but still survives it through.
This is a spicy teleport.
Yeah, there we go. Proper decision, especially since the trap came down, so you don't want to be stunned up as you TP in through. Top of 4 people. 5 people. It's a lot of people.
Quick tip. If you are trying to punch someone who is teleporting on the tower, they will always be right behind the tower closest to their spawn.
Yep.
So just put a trap there, or put any of your CC, or prepare to you know, put a CC ability there, and you'll get them 100% of the time.
Yeah, that patch that went through to make it so it was 100% of the time always going to be behind the tower made a lot of people happy. or unless if you're a top laner and you're just sad because whenever you take TP into a lane to defend it, you're going to die or at least take a lot of damage.
Yep. Not fun. But there is counterplay now to it. Teleport was always a very strong summoner spell over the years.
Mhm.
You just have a much lower cooldown.
That's true.
Also had a much lower channel time.
TP will always have its strength, especially in competitive, knowing that being in the opposite side of the map instantaneously will always have its value. You can increase the channel time for it, but it's still going to be strong. Especially in this meta where it's just like you can have that reactive playstyle. You can still lose lanes, but as long as you have double TP, you can always have the answer to repel a dive.
Yep.
Dan might have to repel this dive. It's not even going to be a dive.
No, it's going to be taking the tower. However, Snake are going to leave Herald to her fate today.
Heard it!
Oh, just, wow, going to get another charge off.
Ah.
Not a lot of damage though. So we're all good. How are we doing in terms of gold? So the gold is actually pretty even. It's just where the gold has been allocated to both of these two teams. You know, a lot of it is going to be on Lies for Dan. But pretty much every other lane is very equal in terms of farm. Karen is obviously farming up a storm because he's Skarner. Very much what you'd refer to as a control jungler. But SWF hasn't actually gotten involved on the map, whereas Karen, he's gone for these ganks, but hasn't really panned out for him.
Yeah, and so the way I would think about it in terms of the gold value is Snake went towards investments. Infernal one is an easy one just because you get the immediate value of course, the damage increase, but once you actually get items, of course, that value increases quite a bit, especially once maybe you put in Elder Dragon. If the team has a lead going into that portion of the game, they get Elder Dragon, well, then that's going to do a lot more damage on top of it. So just Snake being more active on the map and getting these monster objectives, especially just getting that mid lane turret, is going to be a good trade for them. But it means that the vision control that we've always hit Snake for is going to be a little easier for them to attain.
As weird as it is to say, like, I think that Snake are performing maybe even better without Crystal, and they tried to ham-fist him into the lineup so many times. But now that we just have OQ and Hoodie in the bottom lane, like I'm seeing just more concise play from Snake, whereas Dan, they try to make a play in the mid lane, but Snake disengage.
That's true. And the thing about Crystal, you gotta appreciate the fact that he was willing to stand up and take the support position when they didn't have a good support. Though with that being said, Shen may need a bit of support, moral support, actual aid. Get out of there, Shen. He's good. And so when, of course, when Crystal was in the support position, he stood to the role, was very strong, especially on the Thresh. And then went back to AD carry, and they already have OQ, so the fact that now they could swap between the two, it still has a lot of value to Snake. So having him around, of course, they're going to be very thankful about it.
All right, Snake are just going to even up these towers now. It was just the trade across map. The dragon is in around 2 minutes, so obviously you've got a bit of setup time for that one. And for now, yeah, we're just pretty much chilling.
And you'd have to think that this actually works very well for Dan, that these trades are coming across. It increases the size of the map just based off of there's no real safety with the towers being down. Should be a lot larger of a chase. Means that for Snake, if they want to get to an objective, say Dragon or Baron once it comes up in 3 minutes, that it's going to be a big risk for them. It's going to be a longer way to get back to safety. So for Dan, to have this kind of pick-off composition should be great for them. And they have good setup with the Caitlyn as well. So they're setting themselves up well, especially with Snake needing more time with the composition that they have to really scale up around Orianna, around OQ's Kalista play. So it's going to be interesting to see how Snake do in terms of slowing the game down and getting the items necessary. He's close to Runan's Hurricane at the very least. So once he does get that for himself, he should be fine. I wonder if that's actually going to turn into Phantom Dancer. We've seen a few Phantom Dancers on that. They would just lose out in a bit of wave clear.
But Raz, don't you think that Dan Gaming also have a good amount of scaling since they have a Caitlyn?
Yes. So the scaling is there. It's just the protection that comes with it, right? And how they can play these team fights out. Oh, speaking of team fights, I'm always on edge. I can never trust a team when they want to start a fight, especially Dan Gaming.
Yep.
But you're right about the scaling in that both teams do have options, and it's how you want to be able to start it out. Front to back, I have more faith in Snake because they can throw more bodies at you. Dan have, at the very least, a Cho'Gath. And the Cho'Gath, if he's stacking up quite well, then that is a major front liner. So I wonder how the fortunes are going to be for this team.
Well, it looks like Liza's already pretty tanky, getting his way towards 30,000 health at 90 minutes. Yeah, okay. Dan Gaming are just going to take this dragon. Pretty much no contest. We'll be pushing the mid lane, but there's no tower there. So Snake actually just decided to get the advantage in pushing lanes, but it does give them pushing lanes around that Baron pit. So they can place down that ward vision in that jungle now.
I previously mentioned Snake do not want to look for fights at this stage of the game. They just don't have the ability to do so. They need OQ a little stronger. They need Zatai to have, at the very least, completed his Leandries, and then maybe in towards Aludin's Echo. So once he can get a lot of AP underneath him, then the ball that he does have, constantly looking to zone out Goon, constantly looking to zone out Choo-Choo, will have more value.
So they got a lot of damage down onto that tower. They didn't manage to finish off the inner tower. It was maybe down to half. There was a response in the bottom lane from Lies, but ultimately it was just tower damage. That being said, Baron is spawning right about now, and we know that Dan Gaming quite literally catnip to them.
That's true.
So they will go towards it.
That's why you have to look towards Snake's back timings from this point forward, because even though they've been keeping rigorous vision around the pit, for them, for this instance, to be able to push up top and back, that works well for them. But the fact that they didn't stagger it all too well gave Cat an opening to start to put down vision, gave the rest of the team an opening to be able to wrangle control away from Snake. And the reason why it's so important for Dan is because, of course, the meme of them getting to 20 minutes, them forcing down the Baron, it's always going to be a thing or an option for Dan. Snake have recognized this, and so they just need to be a lot more disciplined in how often they are on the map as a team.
At the very least, just having vision over it, having people near there, especially SOFM. He can't just be like bot side taking Raptors. He just has to be cognizant that at any point in time, Dan could just randomly be on the Baron. So, got to keep it in mind.
And just to get the Righteous Glory update for you guys, it's a weather update. That's a double Righteous Glory for the team. So they are going to chase you down. They have a good fight. They're not going to stop. And I just hope that they don't stack it. You know, that's all I ask for.
That's all we want. This is a very exciting trade in bottom lane. I don't know why we're looking at it, but we could be looking at anything else. Prefer to see a wood get taken out in river.
Pulse, I thought that was your kind of thing. I thought you loved
not at
the
this
top
stage,
lane
Raz.
trades.
Yeah, I love like the first 5 minutes when it's down to the micro interactions of like if you screw up and you're below like 80% and you're pushed up in lane, you're probably in kill range. But when you're like there,
come on,
no.
But like if you lose a trade, then you have to TP back in, and oh, you don't have TP anymore, Pulse. Just the impact of that. It's gonna take about a minute, maybe 2 minutes for that to happen. But it could happen, Pulse.
Raz, Lies has like 5 billion HP. He's never going to get shoved out of lane.
It's going to go down to 0 at some point.
He's got his passive, which gives him more HP. And Flandre is like, yes, I am Shen. I don't take damage. There's nothing in this.
Oh, he's got himself.
Hootie. This could be massive. Cat's going to have to burn his flash. 1 for 2 double. Maybe Cat has to sacrifice his life now. He's going to wait till the last second to use his Grey Helm.
Oh
but
my
the rest
God.
of the team's coming in from the back line. And Karen has abducted Zatai, but there's no damage with him as well. Lies turns up, has the feast. He wants to use it on somebody.
No way.
And we'll get it down onto Zatai. And a turnaround coming in now from Dan Gaming. Goon eliminates OQ. And Hootie on the run with Flandre and SOFM. They're running for the hills. Double kill Alpha Goon.
Absolute chaos, and it's not going to stop here unless, there we go, the barrel's going to do it. That is insane. That looks so good for Snake. They get the initial pick onto Choo-Choo. They say, you know what? He wasn't even our target to start. We knew Cat was going to eat him up. Let's get Cat. But they left one person behind. One person didn't get that train ride, Pulse, and it was Zatai. So yeah, we talked about the 20-minute Barons. This time around, it comes pretty free.
In the words of Jesse Pinkman, they can't keep getting away with it. Why are they on Baron again? Dan Gaming, 23 minutes. And for some reason, every single play turns into a Baron play. Choo-Choo's at the back of the pit. Flash torn. Flandre takes out the AD carry. Now he's kind of trapped, but Goong also needs to stop tanking the Baron. Lies get in there. SOFM and Flandre may have stopped this play.
Oh, keep it healthy. Oh, no. Okay, all right. Baron's going to go to max HP, too.
Okay, zoning them off in this choke point. Goong turning it around, pops the ultimate. And Cat does ride the wave back to safety.
But Flandre is the only one who is sub 30% HP. Snake are going to turn onto it. This ride is not going to end.
Flandre does have teleport as well. You can see it instantly teleporting in. Lies. Hits the rupture. Everyone at the back of the pit taking maximum amount of damage here, Raz.
That's a Cho'Gath on Lies. Stop that
Shockwave
Cho'Gath.
and the taunt. The CC chain is huge. Going to be dragging Lies in as well. The death sentence living up to its name as Lies hits the dust. And Baron will go down to Snake.
Very well done from Snake. Time and time again, Snake have been losing Barons. In fact, they're getting very close to being Dignitas meme. But finally, they recognize that's a lot. That's Smite on Karin. That's Cho'Gath ulti. Get the fight, secure it. This is the fight that we talked about earlier on, that Snake were looking good to clear it up. Zatai gets caught out, but thankfully Snake, the A team, comes to save him, but they're right on top of tanks. All of these tanks, they're doing so much damage. The Cho'Gath is gonna eat the Orianna, and you're just in a position of sorrow, where Snake thought they were doing well, probably weren't able to focus on the fight because there are so many HP bars on top of each other, and of course get completely AoE'd out.
Finally Dan go for a Baron play, and Snake just stopped them and take the Baron. As much as I like Dan, it feels good.
Yeah. You thought they were going to get away with it, Pulse.
I thought they were.
Flounder wasn't going to let it happen.
No, we went all the way until Breaking Bad Season 5, and that was pretty good. Did you get that reference, Raz?
I got that one.
Yes, okay. At least you had one pop culture reference.
It takes some time to guess and check. Finally get it.
Oh, and Snake are going to get another Infernal as well. Dan, not feeling great.
The investment's starting to pay off for Snake. First Infernal Dragon, second Infernal Dragon. You gotta hope that the next one, thank goodness, it's not another Infernal Dragon.
But you know that Dan are probably just gonna end up getting that Ocean Dragon. This is like, well, this kind of blows.
Yeah.
Getting all the lame dragons.
Hey, you know, if it stacks up to a point, now they're gonna get 2 Ocean Dragons. They're basically from California. A lot of ocean.
A lot of ocean. But yeah, Snake double Infernal. 16% AP and AD, pretty good. It's just a slow siege, pushing in bottom lane. We've got Flounder in top lane, so just going to play it slow on the Z from Snake, and this is what we need to see from them.
Yeah, and immediately one of the biggest points for Snake that I would criticize them on are lane assignments once they have Baron. Sometimes you see some wacky nonsense of SOFM on a tank going split pushing mid lane, where the actual top lane carry is, you know, suddenly with the team. You're like, what is this? Why am I seeing this? This time around, it's proper. This time around, you see the Shen, topside, keeping Lies preoccupied. Lies doesn't have his TP. Flounder has his Shen ulti. It can be an immediate 5-4 situation if Snake chooses that. It's a righteous glory pop.
It is. That was probably a fat finger.
Just wanted to feel fast for a little bit.
Flounder, 7th game of his life right now. 3-0-3 on Shen. That means you can allow yourself to indulge in the Titanic Hydra.
Ah, yes.
And it feels fantastic.
Does feel good. I remember back in the days, let's say Season 2, when you'd see the Darien Trinity Force Shen bullying these top laners around. You're like, wow, that's a battle Shen if I've ever seen it.
Yep. Well, hook onto Lies, and he's probably dead. You can remove the probably.
He's a dead man. And you know what? He's on Snake's plate. So yeah, this is a good it's a good rotation from Snake. It's only okay.
Ooh, nice knockback.
Very nice. And here's the thing, Snake can keep doing this. They moved away from the bottom lane because the traps were getting a little bit too hefty, and they can go from wave to wave to wave, and so suddenly change towards mid lane. You leave the traps behind in the top lane, and suddenly Choo-Choo has to do that work all over again. Great movements.
Yeah, great movements. This has been very much a late game ramp from Snake. Like, we would see them in this situation before, and they just have no idea how to close. And you'll get that early game advantage. They'll make some good plays around mid game, but we'd never see this out of them. I don't know what changed in the behind the scenes, in the background, but something definitely has.
7 weeks of gameplay. Pulse. You get 7 weeks, a lot of time. And if you're not learning much, if it's the same Snake we're seeing, then we have some problems. They were very disappointed in themselves at the very beginning. Before the season even started, they were disappointed in themselves with how they played in the Demacia Cup. They were disappointed in how the team started in the LPL split. They were disappointed in how the teams went through the cross-conference play. There's a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, there was.
But, of course, with disappointment follows lessons. And those lessons they're learning quite frequently. We talked about how they were able to utilize that Baron. You can see points in which Snake, their early game strengths are finally turning into mid-game, late-game results. Their IG set's another example of that. Sure, people will say that their second game, you know, you don't deserve that win. But if you play that well, yes, you deserve that win. And in game 1, it was pretty decent as well. So, you know what? Snake are playing up.
If you kill the Nexus, you deserve the win.
There we go.
It's as simple as that.
Doesn't have to be clean, ladies and gentlemen. You'd want it to be, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay, well, we're collapsing on Shen, who is not even going to have to use his Shadow Dash or his Flash.
You know what? Don't collapse. Don't do that. I understood the idea, thought process.
I didn't.
It was there. You can't say it wasn't there.
It was there, and then it was gone. He's literally a ninja.
That's true. Never try and catch a ninja.
SOFM will tank that ultimate to the face. He's absolutely fine. And honestly, Snake just playing it passively, and they don't need to do anything. They've just literally passively absorbed all of the pressure that Dan exerted.
Yep.
And Dan were like trying so hard, but Snake, just play it slow, take the bot tower, play it slow, take the top tower.
And this is when you start to feel really bad as a Skarner player, you know? Or the team with just a Skarner scuttling around the map. Because the QSS has just come through on OQ. He took a little bit of time before he actually purchased it. And so now, what are your options if you're Karin? Pick up the Flandre. Not going to be a good idea. Pick up SOFM. Well, he has a few tank items now. Sure, he had the AP jungle item, but you know what? Now he actually is a tank. Pick up Zatai. Sure, right? But yeah, like at that point, Shen ulti is going to come down on them. Essentially, who are you going to actually use your ulti on? And feel happy about it. You can use ulti on someone else, but you know what? You probably get reported at the end of the game. So
I think Karin's only used his ultimate once this game that I've seen.
That's true. But it's one of those moments where I just cannot blame Skarner players. You can blame them for picking Skarner, but you can't blame them for how that game went on. Because once you start losing the early points of the game, you lose that one team fight, you just get closed out of options. He's a very linear champion.
Yep. You win harder. You lose harder.
Yeah. It's the only real blame I would say is in his early game looking to dive top lane. It's very hard to dive a Shen, very hard to pressure it through. I understood he was put in that position just because of how bottom lane was starting to work out. But mid lane seemed like you would have more options, especially once Goon got past that level 6 point. Teams have had, dive the Orianna strategies time and time again. That would be a good time to do so just because of how long that range is and how well Goon has been playing in the past week. Past 2 weeks even. He's having a good game now. It's not showing. Of course, he's not going to get MVP. It's not going to happen. You don't get that benefit.
Who's the MVP, Raz?
Ooh. If I had to make the choice, I don't get the... You know what? I'm gonna give it to Flandre.
We've caught SOFM, but there's a Shen on top of him, and he just took the Lantern out of their light. Gonna jump right on top of that backline. Stalling time for OQ and Zatai, but walks right into the shockwave. Cat's gonna save Choo Choo. He jukes backward. Karin gets dragged back into the team once again. Good stun out with the Scatter of the Weekend. No one is dead yet, but finally Karin falls as the first casualty of the fight, and that will turn Snake and their attention towards Baron.
Yep, Karin's down. There's no smite on the field, and they only have to worry about Cho'Gath with 0 flash. So that's not really threatening, especially when Snake can just look for a fight here.
Gung hovering over the wall, and Dan just stayed in a little bit too long without getting the contest off. They're going to keep on fighting though. The front line from Snake is very low. Gung throwing balls in there, tosses out Scatterweek, doesn't tag onto Zatai. Rupture again does not connect. That'll be Dan disengaging. Baron once more over to Snake.
A lot of skill shots being thrown. Oh, yeah, you know what? They're going to get something on the map. They're going to try their hardest to at least get something. It's going to be an Ocean Dragon. But you're right. Snake have Baron. So it feels like this is going to be it was desperation mode for Dan a little bit while back. But has to be now since Snake are in a position to look for that one final fight. It's a Bloodthirster being purchased on OQ.
Oh man, yeah, OQ is gigantic, so is Zatai. Look towards the carriers of Choo Choo and Gong, and you're just saying probably Choo Choo just needs more time to get to a full third item. Gung as well. And while he's 2-0-1, Gone hadn't even died up until that last team fight. Like, it doesn't really matter right now. Snake have double Infernal at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is really punishing right now. And the one thing that you would say that Dan had at least an option to do was to burst out OQ. You still have Syndra at the end of the day. You still have the silence from Cho'Gath. You can pick that one person off, or at least have that option in doing so. They can't even do that onto OQ. because that lifesteal is too dang big. He has 2 lifesteal items, so if you don't burst them off in the first go with the Runon's Hurricane, he gets so much HP back. So, yeah, that option have just closed. You know what? The door is closed. It's gone. It's actually vanished.
Raz, why would you pick up the Bloodthirster here instead of Death Stance for OQ?
I would say Bloodthirster, of course, it gives you the
Shield.
So the bonus shield is actually really big for you. Death Stance is always nice. I love Death Stance. I'm a Death Stance connoisseur.
Me too.
But you know what? A lot of bursts, specifically Syndra. He's probably only looking at Syndra and saying, I don't want to get bursted by
But
Syndra.
what does Death Stance do, Raz?
Doesn't give you a shield,
No, but it reduces burst.
but doesn't give you a shield.
30%.
I understand that.
30%.
Shield.
Just feels good.
It does feel good.
But also based off abilities as well, so if you're auto attack based, then I can understand Bloodthirster. And Snake just playing slow right now. Don't really need to do anything different. Doing the old 1.5, 2 and 1 split push.
It's good. It's one of those moments where it feels like you can do no wrong as Snake. SOFM is literally just running around the map at sub 30% HP because he can. The tank meta gets to a point where if you just put people in opposite side lanes, you 1-3-1 them, 1-4. It's like, what can you do to stop them? We already saw Dan try to collapse onto the Shen, but if you collapse onto a tank, even if they're going to die, it's going to take a long time for them to die, and Snake are already in a position to look for inhibs. So right now, Dan, the only option they have right now is to force a fight or to wait long enough for a Baron to come up.
And it really just sucks for Karin, because it's like, once you're pushed into your base, you gain just like less effectiveness as Skarner, because there are no crystal spires in your base.
No, that's good. That's
like
true.
if you get ahead, you go to the enemy spires. If you're behind, there isn't anything for you. So, yep, nothing really for him to do if a team fight opens up in the base.
Yeah, and one of the criticisms of Skarner as well is that you're so linear, of course, with the spires. There being so few spires on the map that you would think that you would just fight around the spires, contest the spires. You don't oftentimes see Skarner fight an enemy team with on top of a spire for Skarner.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. Even though you say, well, that's an amazing buff. It looks great. Even to hit your earlier comparison, it feels like that Trundle W. Contaminate, it's called?
It used to be called Contaminate, now it's Frozen Domain.
Ah, there we go. I still have that traditional Trundle skin, so I'm going to call it Contaminate, god damn it.
They actually moved the name over to Twitch. His EU is Contaminate, not Expunge. Which I completely disagree with, because you're not contaminating, you're expunging. So
that's fair.
Just like it.
That's his E, right?
Yes.
That is, okay. Yeah, if it was his W, if he was throwing his W out, it's called Contaminate,
yeah.
I would understand
like,
that.
Yes.
There we go.
That's like Poison Vial or something. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they probably just made a mistake, wanted to move it to the spell over. It's like, oh, well, that's on the wrong spell. So that's my benefit of the doubt right there.
Yep. But the point is,
yeah,
you don't get to choose where the Crystal Spire is.
Exactly. You don't get that option. Press an ability, Trundle does it. If you're Skarner, you're just hoping that the fight happens. Or at least hoping that the setup that you've had in the early portion of the game makes it so it benefits you.
And if you're the enemy team, and you're just like, well, I guess we just don't fight here, you know?
Yep.
I guess it would make more sense if like you could, kind of like a Lowy passive, where it like spawns tentacles if you move next to a wall. If it spawned like a spire when you move next to a wall.
Oh my god.
Because then you actually have like some control over the ability.
I don't even know. Suddenly we have an RNG element in there. This is why you're not on the balance team calls. I wouldn't like this. What? I mean, people would love it. If you're a Skarner player, if you're like a Captain Flowers, you're going to love that. You're going to be like, oh, yes, give me that.
That would be amazing.
I just don't want to deal with a Skarner who's just going to be RNG spamming spires.
There's no RNG about it because you have to move towards the wall.
There's a lot of walls.
Yeah. Where's the RNG? You get control.
Oh, you're saying that you can choose to put down? Because if it's like Ilawi's tentacle, that's RNG.
No, it isn't.
Oh, we're going to have a fight. We're going to have... This is... A fight's about to ensue right now in chat.
Hello, who's the Ilawi main?
I'm taking off my jacket.
If you walk next to a wall, it spawns where you move up to on the wall.
You just don't know exactly where it's going to spawn, Pulse.
Because you can set them up.
All right. I'm sad that these are not wireless headsets, so we can't go outside.
There's a range in which you can't spawn them anymore, and then they'll spawn on like the outside radius, so you can space them out.
A range, but now we're getting into a debate about What's exactly RNG?
Random number generator, where you do not have control. But there's
Controlled
also,
RNG.
what I've learned from speedruns,
Yes.
RNG manipulation.
There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, there we have it. I love speedruns, but only for one time of the year.
2 times of the year.
2 times? Oh, 2 times.
2
Man,
times.
I don't watch it too often. Then.
I believe that is the case.
Well then.
What are these 2 teams doing? We're contesting Elder Dragon. All right, well, I'm sure if Dan realized that the Baron is spawning in 5 seconds, we'll probably just move over to the Baron.
Yeah, but it's getting burnt down far too quickly. It's going to be all on Lies to see if he can start a
Well,
fight.
he's going to flash into the front line.
Woo!
Okay, we got Karin. He managed to grab Zatai, but we couldn't nuke him down fast enough. And now all of the shields are coming out. Cat saying, I've got him, guys. But he's going to pop the ultimate. Choo-choo with the kill. 4 versus 5 now. Karin, he gets the heal
Oh
out.
my
Big
God.
taunt in from Flandre. But the backline, look at Oki. He needs to take down Lies before he can reach anybody else. And Cat will save him as well. Choo-choo jumping forwards. Very aggressive play from Gung. And Snake get out alive with 4 of their members remaining. Only 1 kill, but Dan win the fight.
Yeah, Goong's going to be sad that he didn't have a sphere for that stun, but either way, they're going to get Elder Dragon. We ruled this team out, and they're just about to take the game back.
They're taking Elder, and they can make a play now towards that Baron. Lies does have his TP as well.
It's always going to be about that Baron buff. Now, Goong doesn't have much mana to his name, so if they go straight for it, TP's coming through.
Maybe he should move towards the top lane because that is a massive minion wave about to crash.
Thankfully, they have 2 Ocean Dragons. The only time in which it's going to be beneficial, and it's going to be beneficial for Goong. He's going to be able to get the mana back.
For right now, SOFM, he's right behind that trap wall. Doesn't have the flash, so he's going to have to jump over the back of it.
He's going to have to steal it. Dan are going to have to rush it because of the wave in the top side of the map.
Look towards Lies. He has the ultimate, uses the feast, chomps down. That's the Baron and the Elder Dragon to Dan Gaming.
Pulse, they're back into the game.
I actually can't believe my eyes and I can't believe my tips because the one time I don't go for Dan, they pull this.
You should still keep faith, all right? 41 minutes of the game. All this means is that the game goes on a little bit longer. Of course, it doesn't mean we don't know who it's going to go for at this point. But Dan are going to be able to stabilize the major waves that were hitting top side of the map, bottom side of the map, because Snake had good control of side lanes. But losing that fight was so impactful because suddenly, yeah, it doesn't really matter. That just means that Dan's going to be able to take 2 monster objectives and pick up massive minion waves. So ultimately, just because Dan won the fight, they get so much gold back for it.
I mean, we just went from an 80% win game for Snake to a 50-50, essentially.
It's a 4K gold lead. That means absolutely nothing 41 minutes into the game.
Lies has 5,000 HP. Once he pops Gargoyles, he has over 10,000 health.
Still, it has to be noted that Snake lost that fight solely because of the flank play coming through from Karin, was able to pick up Zatai, and they just CC stunned him for so long Zatai wasn't able to get off his ulti. So the shockwave wasn't there, and you'd have to assume if the shockwave's there this time around, it would work out better. But with Banshee's Veil being on Goong, it's going to be harder to actually make that play happen until, let's say, a Gragas throws out his Q to pop it.
Tower down. From Hoodie, it's only on Cat though. Zatai just took a bunch of damage. Double shields on him. Karin still has his ultimate as well. You've got to look at this Skarner. Doesn't have the flash, but he's very fast. 2 towers plus an inhib. We'll see if Dan look to wash, rinse, and repeat here.
You're not going to let her live it down.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. I appreciate it, at the very least.
What are you rinsing? Nothing. For Dana, they are absolutely ringing Snake.
Yeah. Dan's going to take a little bit of time because they don't have the wave bot just yet, but because of how it was slow pushing, that's going to be a massive wave. 3 cannon creeps. Wait a second.
They have an armada 4.
Wait a second. You can't do that.
This army is out of control. How did 4 cannon minions all stack up? Good save by Cat once again. And look at this armada that they have in the bottom lane. Choo-choo doesn't need to do anything.
There's another wave coming up. You just have to hope and pray that's not another cannon general coming over.
God. These cannon minions and the Castacoons are destroying the towers, destroying the inhib.
That was really well done from Cat to be able to swallow up Choo-choo.
This is absurd. And Snake can't do anything. There's such a massive frontline here. They can't touch those cannon minions.
Yeah, that's another cannon minion, or at least another wave coming through as well. This Baron buff is getting its worth.
Snake are gonna have to do something. They engage on top of Lies. Cat on the front line as well, but look at Choo-Choo. He's hammering down onto the Nexus towers. Karen just being an annoying Skarner right now, looking towards these carries. His flash is up as well. His Impale is ready to go. Flandre and SOFM need to pull the trigger. The game is on the line. Zatai on the back, but he's separated from the team. Ace in the hole puts him back, and Lies takes away Hootie from the map. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but support for top laner is good for Snake.
Nexus is exposed.
One tower down, two towers down. Choo-Choo chipping away at the Nexus. Flandre jumps after, no flash on him. Zatai backs away, hits the cleanse. Cat as well, turning it around. We've got to get the down jump to the Nexus. Dan, 4 versus 5. They're losing their top laner.
Zatai has
good
ulti.
dodge from Gung, keeps going in a straight line, and Flandre can't get on top of him. Cat goes down, Zatai looking for the shockwave, lands onto Karen. Flandre jumps onto the backline once again, but the instant cleanse out from Choo-Choo. He falls to OQ, and a chase down now. Snake turning it around. Gung will be dropped, but not before he takes SOFM with him.
The top lane wave, this is actually turning around.
Oh my god, 5 for 2 here, Raz. And Flandre hammering down onto this top lane inhibitor turret. But look at the minions in the base. Someone needs to address this.
Yeah, there's no follow-up from the rest of Snake, so you have to believe that it's not game yet. Lies is going to be able to come back up, so that's an exposed wave. Yeah, you're right. So please kill the wave. Please. You don't want to lose to minions. All right. Whew, okay.
Whoa.
You know what? An inhibitor down in favor of Snake, but that's an exposed Nexus. That's 2 inhibitors down in favor of Dan Gaming. All right, this is when you start doing TP lockdown. So Lies has TP. He has, I believe that's a ward within the base. That's just something that's blue inside of that base. So right now, focus is going to be on Lies to see if he could TP on top of whatever that is. Actually, that could just be a trap. I think that's a trap. So that's not going to happen. Cannot TP on traps.
Oh my god, this game has just gotten absolutely out of control. It's a 50-50, and you know it's going to come down to these monster objectives once again now, Raz.
Yep. You know what? Flandre's going to be upset that he went towards the Darien build. He already has the Trinity Force, so he's doing damage. But at this point in time, you actually want to be a tank, because with how long this game has gone on, he's going to take a lot of damage from Choo-Choo, who has just finished up his full item build. So full, in fact, he doesn't have any boots. That's a Caitlyn walking around barefoot.
He actually has gone for the Darien build, and you feel so powerful as Shen once you have Triforce and Titanic Hydra. Like, if you first item those, you would just like one-shot anybody on the map. But at this point in the game, I think he just thought this was like an assured win.
Yes, he has to swap it out. Like, legitimately, there are no other options, because if he has the gold to do it, then he should swap it out for a much tankier item. Let's say even a Warmogs, because he does have Gargoyle Stoneplate. So if he gets a Warmogs, he can just continue to fight, play these slower fights out, and they kind of have to commit to these slower fights because of Kalista needing to play around Ren. That being said, slow, whatever it is, they're fighting now.
Looking for the engage, misses the cast. Choo-Choo dodges out the hook as well, and Snake unable to find purchase on Dan as the rest of them resume their assault and will come back together in the mid lane.
It's going to pay off at some point, you have to believe. SOFM's going for it again.
He's going to jump on Choo-Choo once more. Doesn't have the ultimate this time. He's staying on top of him. Cat ready to go. Lies unable to catch him as he takes the lantern out. Even without goggles, he's incredibly tanky. Cat dragged in once again, and the Catfish does not get to use his fixed skim. However, Hootie almost instantly taken out by Lies. Doesn't quite finish him off, and he gets to live for another day. Flandre leading the charge, and even with that Trinity Force, he is very tanky himself.
Really well done. So the flash that is off of Cat pays off about 30 seconds afterwards, where Cat just gets picked off, not even able to use his shield. So now you're in a position, Snake huddling around this Baron pit.
Raz TP in the base.
Oh my god, you're right.
Lies looking for the back door. They're trying to disrupt the recalls, and it's only Hootie here to defend as well. Zatai at critical HP as he looks to recall, but he needs to go into the top lane. Lies on top of the Nexus, but he's a Cho'Gath. He does negative damage. Look at the rest of the team. They're engaging in the fight in the meanwhile, and we need to look at the fight because Lies has just taken too long to take this one down. Hootie is just stalling him, and Zatai as well comes up. He will be able to stop this onslaught from Cho'Gath, but he just has so much HP. Now the cavalry has arrived. Flandre is able to CC enough and fighting to get out. But no, the minions as well will finish off the game, Raz. And that's game 1 to Dan Gaming.
I cannot comprehend that game. Dan should not have won this one, but determination and a lot of help from minions You talk about the 6th man on the map. That was about an entire army. That was not fair. But Dan played it well, and they finally net the win. They don't look too happy about it because the job is not done just yet. That's just game 1. No, they're happy. They're definitely happy. Just kidding. You know, the job is done. Go home.
And come back because you've got another game to play, but... Oh. Of course, that is the way that Dan win the game. And they're on a 7-series loss streak right now, Raz. Look at that goal grab.
Still ended with Snake having a gold lead. It actually was just their game. You don't... if you're the coach of Snake, you're like, you got double Infernal. You have the gold lead. You look at this game, you don't even look at the actual match itself. You're like, Snake won this game. They didn't win the game. Pulse, they lost the game.
They very much lost the game, Raz. Almost a 50-minute game.
I'm just going to wait it out.
That should have been over like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, there we go. That's the damage graph. And you know what? Skarner doesn't have to do any bit of damage to be able to win the game. So it was all on the Syndra and ultimately, of course, the Caitlyn when Caitlyn had her full item build. And if you're going up against full item Caitlyn, doesn't matter what attack speed, growth, nerfs you get, you are still going to be pumping out damage.
And as much as we can talk about the composition, Raz, like, it was very much down to those in-game decisions around the monster objectives that sold this game. And Snake, just multiple mishaps over and over. And the fact that they did win a team fight around the Elder Dragon did make a major difference for Dan Gaming. So that was due to composition, but it was still decision-making out from Snake. The fact that Skarner able to get the perfect flank out for the team and hit the ultimate and then come in there and just like drags the ties to the front lines, like, the pick worked out.
Yeah, happened multiple times, actually, too. It was one of those moments where you'd looked, I even said it in the game, that Skarner wasn't going to be able to find a lot of options or picks, because even if it does, like, the best option was going to be Orianna, but you'd have to assume that there was going to be enough shield coming through for Orianna to keep her alive to have that effectiveness. That wasn't even the case, because you saw in one of the prime fights towards Dragon, when she did get flanked, when she did get CC locked down, when she was in Tom Kench's belly, she was just nowhere on the map for a good portion of the time because she was just getting CC'd and inside someone else's stomach. And she comes out, she even channels her ulti, but she dies immediately after. Had she at least had a fraction of a second longer to channel that ulti, they actually would have won that fight. She had a lot of damage underneath her. So you just have those moments where had Zatai played it a little better, used this flash at, let's say at the prime moment, there'd be a lot of points in which he was, I guess, lack of focus because you just don't expect those plays to come through. Ultimately, Snake could have won those fights. But yeah, he didn't. It was one of those moments where you see just a minor misplay turns into a massive play for Dan Gaming. And that's one of those games.
So what's your professional opinion now on Skarner? Do you think that more teams will now pick him up? Because he did win a game. Wasn't pretty, but he did win the game.
I can say that he forced people to buy QSS. That's what that's what.
So does Malzahar.
That's true. I like Malzahar. Let's pick Malzahar. Not Malzahar jungle. But ultimately, I think that the criticism of Skarner, I still like Skarner, right? I still like being able to have those picks in your wheelhouse, right? If you go into second phase, you pick out a surprise Skarner, crowd goes wild, you come into the game, and you still have focus, right? The composition still has focus towards playing towards mid and top lane. Top lane did well, you would have to say that just because the early tower did go down. And of course, mid lane, he had that option. He didn't necessarily take it, and I think that he could have abused that a little bit more by being able to flash onto Orianna.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Skarner, if you have flash, you're level 6, and you haven't used it for so long into the game, there's going to be criticisms towards you. Chuchi picks it up, picks up the MVP. Did a good job in a lot of these team fights because he was largely protected and largely in the right position at the right time.
Yeah, he was putting out maximum damage for the team, but ultimately it was a team effort, you know, at the end of the day. And if it was me, I would just straight up give the MVP to the team because they were able to pull it back. And that's actually just an incredible feat. And we praised Snake and we're like, all right, well, they're doing all of the right things. They have the recipe. They're following it to the T, to the letter. And it looks like they should be able to close out this game. But then Dan just go full Dan and then end up winning the game.
You know, it's funny because there were a lot of improvements in Snake's Baron play, right? They play around Baron quite well. They're able to shut out the jungle or any smite or any Cho'Gath ulti opportunities. So they're always able to just net and secure Baron. They use Baron quite well. So even in the loss, a lot of times, I'm not even going to be criticizing Snake a lot of those plays because those are marked improvements that they made. It's just in those team fight setups, right? It's just how do you execute team fights. And especially in a tanky let's say, meta, you have to be able to play out the team fights well.
I'm honestly just wondering how like Snake will recover from this because they had such a good intro to the game. But we are going to take a quick break here, Raz, as we set up for this for the next game in the series. Easy end to game one, and Dan actually finally taking it out. So if you went away and you were like, "Oh, I think this game is all said and done. I'm just gonna get a quick cuppa," and then come back and it's just like, "Oh, Dan somehow took the win." Well, I wouldn't blame you because I thought the game was done as well at 30 minutes into the game, Raz.
Yep. Don't leave. Don't take your dog out for a walk. Don't blink. Don't do nothing of that because I just wasn't prepared myself. I was literally, we're doing our jobs, commentating on a game, and then nonsense is happening every other second. So it feels like Snake and Dan are both just putting down, like taking the gloves off, like basically just fighting at any opportunity. And so we kind of hit on this just before the break. Team fights. Team fights are kind of, the execution of those are pretty important. It doesn't matter how much of a lead you have, that if you can get a team fight win, you can immediately turn that into Elder Dragon, into Baron, into pushing waves, and suddenly, well, that's all that gold lead you had is out the window. And that's exactly what happened here.
Well, as a wise man once said, Raz, if you don't know what you're doing, then neither does your opponent.
Ooh.
And that is what Dan did coming into this game. They picked up the Skarner, and it was just like, what's the Skarner for? It doesn't do anything for like 90 minutes, and then comes out, drags the time to the team, is like, we want to fight. We took the Elder Dragon, we took the Baron, we took your base. And it's like, what is this as a game plan? But it worked out, so I guess they were the masterminds at the end of the day.
What's funny about that is that I really like the Snakes composition into Dan's, because especially the Gragas, and then you see the bottom lane strength of Kalista and Thresh, and past getting 2v2'd in the bottom line, they were able to still secure a lead off of that pretty smart play really early on into the game. And so Skarner really wanted to scale up, really wanted to slow play slow play the advantage that Skarner had going towards the mid lane, top lane. But with how quick moving that composition was from Snake and how many options they had in terms of disengaging a lot of these fights, Snake or at least should have been able to play these team fights well, but a lot of the times it does still come in towards team fight execution and how the communications are.
Mhm.
And a lot of times you just looked at it and you said, well, Snake just faltered or just wasn't on the same page, especially towards the tie, because that felt like a bad game from him.
Well, I'll take a different angle to this game now, right?
Okay.
I want to talk about like the mental game from Snake, because they have been on the up. They've actually been taking 2-0s. They've actually been taking series.
Yep.
In the first place up against IG. We saw it the last time that they played. Now coming into this one, like a game like this, which is like, this is your game to take, right? Honestly, if they win this game, we're looking at another 2-0 from Snake. Now that's not the case. They have to come in with a reverse sweep now in this best of 3. I just don't know if Snake can do it now.
I think they can, just because something to recognize, they are so far down in terms of the standing. They are literally last place. They're week 7 into this, week 8 actually. And suddenly it changes for them. They even said in an interview a lot of the times they're winning, or at least they're competent on stage, because there's no pressure on them. What happens if they lose? Well, they're still in the same place they were last week. And so for
That's
Snake,
Crystal.
seems like bringing back Crystal. I wonder what his eyes has seen last game. For them, the pressure's off, and they're going into the next game, honestly, just at a calm note. So there's not going to be any emotional tears happening here.
I can tell you what Crystal saw from backstage, and that was a magnificent throw, but also a magnificent catch.
That's true.
Out from Dan Gaming, that's what he saw.
He's pretty impressed.
I don't know if that was the face of being oppressed, but it was definitely something. Going into this game as well, you know, got to feel pretty good coming back into the LPL and starting to take wins once again, because 7 series losses in a row, 4-14 as a record.
That's
Not
true.
fantastic.
This could be the end of that. They could just end it with tying that loss streak with Hyper Youth Gaming. That would be fun. You don't want to be etched into history. Well, you would love to be etched into history, but definitely not for this reason.
Nope. But it's almost poetic, right? Bring back the A roster, go back into your own group and start winning again. It's like, maybe this is what you should have done all along.
Yeah. You're going to be a little bit more, I would say, focused into this one. A little happier knowing that IMA's growth, or at least series wins, have been stunted with their EDG loss. Going to feel good.
All right, let's get into it. Game 2 now between Dan and Snake, with Dan and 1-0 up against Snake. Almost difficult for me to say, whereas we'll have the bans coming in. It will be Zach and Rakan, and Rumble, Caitlyn, and Thresh from Snake so far.
I love how Rumble is just thrown into the ban list recently because he's too good of a blind pick lately. Cho'Gath is another one that's just too good as a blind pick for top laners. You would expect perhaps, well, Maokai is going to go through. You'd have to expect Flounder when I pick that one out. But if the team that goes up against the Maokai would want to hold on to their top lane pick for the second phase, because there should be a lot of comfort in how you'd want to counterpick against it.
Yep, final ban Cho'Gath, and it will be Snake first picking Cogmore for Crystal. So the game plan is clear. So now Dan needs to take his way away as many things as possible from this.
Yeah, it kind of shows what Crystal saw in the last game. You didn't see a Kog'Maw. That's what he didn't see. And it doesn't matter that Lulu's going to be picked away, because he's like, well, give me a Janna. Feels like at this point, it's good for Snake to try and play around the Kog'Maw's strength. The Maokai being taken away is pretty big, so you don't get the easy win of just Maokai, Kog'Maw, get into the 35-minute team fights and win the game. But you'd have to expect Hoodie to be going towards an Ardent Sensor rush.
Yeah, you would think so, regardless of what's going to come out. So perhaps as maybe even like a Janna pick, something like very simple early on before Dan hit the support pool, which is very likely coming into the second phase of bans.
I just wonder what Dan are going to be doing here, because against a lot of Kog'Maw compositions, people have gone towards several different things. They've gone towards the utility AD carries like Jhin and Ashe and just try to kill it out. Did you go towards, you know, try and scale with him with the Xayah pick? But don't see that happening here. With the Lulu pick, you'd have to expect a hyper carry, maybe a Twitch. They can hold that towards second phase, and Choo does have a surprisingly large champion pool, so you could even leave that to the second phase. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen here.
Yeah, Braum out there for Snake. And wow, it's actually just Tristana straight up from Dan Gaming here for Choo. And Tristana does actually have a positive win rate right now, 55%, so...
Has done very well for herself, especially in this meta where a lot of the laning phase strength just does not compute, doesn't really matter. You can get out of the laning phase quite fine, and then once you talk about Tristana scaling, of course, make a bead, you just get larger range than the Caitlyn. You just get to a point where you are the hyper carry. You'd expect Dan to want to play around the Tristana now.
Kane ban against SOFM again, even in that Jung could go into the jungle. Yeah, funny that Snake didn't go for it last game or even this game in their first 3 picks.
Yeah, you have to wonder what Snake would want to pick themselves up here. Once again, having Braum could mean that very easily SOFM would want his Gragas. Oh, that's funny. That is actually hilarious that they would respect it here. Banning away the Skarner. But I would expect a Gragas or a Sejuani.
Wow, the actual Skarner ban coming out there against Kara, and Snake just didn't want to deal with it.
It's too much cheese.
Yeah.
Didn't like the smell of it.
I mean, you saw it. It's kind of like Blitzcrank in a sense. Like that one Impale comes out late game, and you just lost your big damage dealer. And it's like, well, okay. I guess, okay.
I bet Zatai was the one calling for it. It's like, I actually just don't want this happening in team fights.
Yeah, it's just a pain, because he didn't have a QSS, so it's like, there's nothing, literally nothing he can do at that point. Yeah, Talia for Goon. I feel like it's actually been a while since I've actually casted Talia. We get so many Talia bans nowadays against the good Talias in the league that they rarely get to pick it now.
Yeah, and Goong is one of them. Really solid on the Talia pick. Has always been a major roaming force for the team to get Choo-Choo and Cat ahead or Lies ahead. Now him being back onto the pick is going to be great for him.
And SOFM will probably pick up Gragas again unless the Jarvan gets flexed into the jungle, but regardless, he's just gone very meta here. Instead of just picking up maybe what his was to his heart's content, like a Lee Sin or Kane right here. So playing for the team again.
At this point, I believe SOFM just loves the Gragas. He picks it up too often. It feels like the tank Lee Sin for him just because he wants to be able to make plays for the team. So if you don't want to play Lee Sin, it feels like one of the worst metas for Lee Sin because he just has too many bad matchups, get into the late game, and if you don't get that kick, you just get shredded by mega tanks and carries. So pick up the playmaker of Gragas, but at the same time, good protection for the Kog'Maw. So you talked about it. Yeah, there is a lot of support here for Kog'Maw. Braum, Gragas disengage, and if you're in a good position, put down the Cataclysm from Jarvan, and it feels like the composition has a nice place for itself. Yeah.
Ultimately, it is a varied Kog'Maw composition. On the opposite side, final pick was Kled. Love me some Kled for Lies, and yeah, Dan Gaming, pretty much just yeah, they very much embody Kled. You know, we said that about game talents, but almost proven wrong because Dan maybe symbolized that even more.
You know what's funny? Both of the LSPL teams of Dan and Suning have actually been known for, I would say, roaming mid laners for the most part. Goong being one of them, Dien being the other. And what you see off of that is the Kled pickups. Like, you see the counter picks happening for the top lane. Lies is going to be the beneficiary for this one. And so what's essentially going to happen is you have the option of Talia looking to get this Kled pretty far ahead. And the early game is going to be pretty impactful for Dan. If they can get these towers down early on, then the flank plays from the Kled should be the major impact here.
Yeah, it's always going to be something that the team has to think about. And especially how last game went as well with the constant flanking Skarner. Snake will maybe be a little bit more heads up about that. But honestly, Snake played like most of that game incredibly well. And then it just came down to those sloppy team fights around the monster objectives. And it was just a chain reaction that allowed Dan back into the game.
Yep. You know, finally getting a taste of their own medicine. They were benefiting from that when they went up against IG recently. And then finally, they understand how it feels to lose such a large lead. I mean, they've been down that road really early on in the split and in spring split as well. It's not a good feeling. Hopefully this time around they can round this game out and try and go into a game 3.
Yeah, that is the goal right here. As Snake and Dan Gaming will go head to head once more. I'll take a look at the keystones here. So anything jumping out to you, anything out of the ordinary for these two teams?
Yep, and my friends, that is a barrier Tristana. Now,
that's not a keystone, but okay.
The reason why, I mean, well, if you want to talk about the keystones, the fact that you got Windspeaker's Blessing and a heal for Cat means he is going to go towards the Ardent Sensor Rush. And so that kind of leaves Choo-Choo with the freedom of not having to go heal. I mean, if you're an AD carry, it's very exciting for you. You're like, well, I actually can pick between any one of these summoner spells. So going towards barrier is going to be a lot more safer for him. He's like, you know, usually you're like, the AD carriers go towards a cleanse, but he doesn't really fear much from Snake. Should probably fear the passive from Hoodie or Zatai's stuns. So he's, no, I'm just gonna get this here barrier.
Karen's going to start off in his red buff, it looks like. And he'll space out these cats because it's damage over time, so...
Oh, he's even got a third one.
All of you Maokai jungle players out there, make sure to space out your saplings. Don't put them all next to each other because you're just wasting damage.
Yep. You would expect them to, let's say, stack on. Let's say if you have 2 saplings, they all hit at the same time. You're like, yes, that is a lot of mini cats. No, you don't get the mini cats.
Not how it works, unfortunately. But it's the same way that like Teemo shrooms, you know, they don't stack. Just increased duration. Shaco boxes, on the other hand, they do stack because they're toxic. But no other trap in the game really does that.
Yep. Just like life, you only get one. You only get one cat coming out of there.
Yeah, but you can chain them.
Yep.
That's all good. So, what are we looking at in the bottom lane? Push in from Dan, makes sense. Tristana into this lane. Mid lane pretty much going to be mostly even. Top lane, Wise gets shoved in early by Jarvan, which sucks for him, just means he has to farm the tower now.
Yeah. So here's the thing. People are going to look at this early portion of the game, and I know the meme's always been about like, oh, you know, laning phase doesn't matter. But if you've seen Kog'Maw games, it does. A lot of the times you see Kog'Maw losing towers very early on. And this game should probably be the exact same trajectory because that's a free lane for Choo-Choo and Cat. And he's just been using his E, just kind of getting a lot of hits on that turret. So Dan's focus really early on to the game, especially since top lane is just getting shoved in against them, is just to really propel Choo-Choo and Cat forward. You can even see the wards being placed down here, just so they can get a good idea of where the enemy jungler is. So they can get a free tower for themselves really early on in the game. Maybe like a 7-8 minute turret. We've been seeing really early towers going up against the Kog'Maw comps.
That's the goal right here. I'm just excited to see that early damage come in from Cat and Tristana, because usually we see the Lulu with the Kog'Maw or like a Janna to hit that like semi 1.5 item power spike for Kog'Maw very early on, but it's actually going to be the case for Choo-Choo right here.
Yeah, they decided to empower their team fighting rather than just going for that really obnoxious Ardent Sensor meta. You don't go towards the Sight Stone earlier on. So, at the very least, Snake are just trying to play these mid-game team fights a little bit more secure. They've been liking these compositions quite a lot. Does he really just scream every single time he auto-attacks?
Yep.
It's annoying.
You kind of get into character, though, when you play Kled. It's a bit of role-playing to it.
That's true. He's crazy.
He is a bit insane. Nice trade there from Crystal. All right, now this is pretty chill, right? All the lanes just want to farm it out. A bit of poke back and forth. There's not going to be anything to write home about.
Yeah. The only thing we can really say for certain is that Crystal losing a lot of HP, but he does have the Doran shield. And honestly, Hoodie's playing the lane well enough that they can still stick around and trade back. And so the damage that we would have expected being hit up onto the turrets actually being repelled backwards. And so Snake right now should feel rather comfortable. You're not going to see these really like early ends to laning phase. So even though we set that expectation, it might not be the case this time around.
Yeah, I mean, bot lane, it's super interactive when no one has burnt a potion yet. Karen is looking towards his mid lane, forcing the flash instantly out from Zatai, but knocked him back into Goong. It will be first blood, and Karen actually comes in with the kill credit.
Yep, Dan has to use Ghost for Goong, and of course Flash for the Maokai, but they get the job done. It's actually just impossible to get past that because, of course, it's so easy to just press the W key if you're Maokai, especially once you've flashed. And once you just see them sitting there, snared, you just use your flick. And I think in that time, the Bramble Fist actually made it so that it didn't really hit. But it's still very much an assured kill.
Yep, it's basically just a Lee's on easy mode. It's like you don't even have to aim. You just need to be able to hit your W key.
Yep. Shut your eyes, let it happen. Oh, this could be a good gank.
For another gank, yeah. Doesn't have flash this time, but the fact that bot lane's already aggressed, instant flash out from Crystal, he knows what's up. Hoodie backs away as well, had to stand behind Brom, so yep, managed to get out of that one, but still burning another summoner in the bot lane means that Karen's probably going to come in for a repeat gank if he can.
Yeah, perhaps. He's already sent the message, though. So at this point in time, you wouldn't be surprised if he just sits in his own jungle and just looks to clear it out. The only camps that are up and available are Grump and Wolf, but I would say Raptors and Krug should come up fairly soon. He just has to path towards it. And once he does that, suddenly he's in the top side of the map, and you'd expect him to look for a top lane gank. Now, that's what's really annoying for, going up against Maokai players, because especially if he has flash up, these ganks are so easy to look for, and you can't really punish them. SOFM can look to just go into the opposite side of the jungle and try to take some camps away. But Maokai, you'll still get his items. Okay, he's already on top of him.
Yeah, he definitely just teleported into Lies, and Lies was like, what is this? This shouldn't exist.
Was this pre-patched in? Was this patched in before the game?
Apparently. Well, Lies will get out of it, no problem. He's still got Scar as well, so he wasn't spooked by the teleporting Jarvan.
Yeah, Flandre was able to push him off of Scar. That would have been great for Flandre. Then he can just kind of keep Lies in the lane while not necessarily having to trade up against him. Speaking of trades, though, this might turn into something larger than that.
Well, SOFM is going to take the Grump first. And now he might go.
Here we go.
Teleport out from Flandre. Yeah, here comes the play. Flash, Cask, rise the wave, and that was misexecution from SOFM. But they should still be able to pick up Choo Choo's. He's already used his rocket jump, but he's got a lot of that health back and the heal in from Can. Plus, they are walled off from progressing with that play, so incredibly well done from Dan Gaming.
That's well done from Dan. They were able to get out of there. They had a lot of defensive spells, including the barrier and the heal that got popped through. But the criticism has to be on SOFM, who put down his Q first and gave Choo Choo the time to get out of the cask. So, at the very least, they get tower off of it, but they could have gotten a kill.
E-ult. That's all you gotta do. If you do anything else, and it allows a couple frames for your opponent to hit smash their flash key, they can get out. But still, first tower over to Snake, so it's still a benefit, which means a lot of farm went over to Lies during the meantime.
Very well executed, or at least path from SOFM to give them that kind of a lead. Now they're going to just swap the lanes around. The next opportunity for Snake is in the top lane. The only thing Dan has in this position is TP. So they have the TP advantage for themselves, and they're going to be able to say that top lane will just turn into a 2v2. They shouldn't have the opportunity or willingness to look for a dive just because the number advantage will be in favor of Dan.
Yeah, man, that adaptation there as well for the summoner spells from Dan Gaming really just saved their hide in the bottom lane play as well. So that was nice to see.
That's true.
Been very few adaptations over the years in terms of summoner spells. Often, top laners take teleport, or like bot lane takes the heal. Used to be AD carries used to take ignite, so they would be the ones to secure the kill. Then they realized it's better actually just to survive, so you can do more damage. So that changed a little bit.
You don't get a lot of times when the summoner spells get buffed or nerfed. They just stay as is, and it's stable for the game, which I like. You don't want to have these summoner spells get nerfed or buffed or just changed week to week to week. So I'm a fan of that, but you will get proper efficiency a lot of the times where AD carries take heal, and that's just, you're not going to often see 2 heals in one comp because of course heal did get nerfed in terms of stacking it. So a lot of times you just come into a game expecting certain summoner spells to be on certain roles. So that is true. I do love the fact that you get to see the bottom lane have some diversity in how they stack summoners.
Yep, exactly. SOFM sat on a ward right now anyway. Used to be some summon spells that did get removed from the game now, like Fortify was a good one, Surge, Rally, Revive. What a summon spell.
Yeah, I remember, I think the mana back, before we even talk about those summoner spells, Flandre might want to use it.
Might have to, oh no, he just pops all over the place, hits the Cataclysm, but nope, Lies, you're not going to get away from this one.
At the very least, he used his summoner spell. Probably shouldn't have. That was just an assured kill. Overall, that was great from Dan Gaming that they were able to make that happen, because you would expect Snake to try to look for a play on the opposite side of the map, and they are going to. But Dan should have the response. Goong does have Weaver's Wall.
He's coming up to this top lane. He should be in range very shortly, but Snake already on top of this tower. They should be able to trade.
It's going to take a long time.
It is actually.
It's not going to take this wave.
I thought Zatai was closer, but he is not. Though Lies and Karen pretty slow themselves.
Yeah, I think Snake as a team miscommunicated how much HP was needed. Now, they're still going to be able to do it. going to take a little bit of HP. But ultimately, they could have gotten the tower a little faster. That just turns into the smallest criticism you can have. That they needed Gragas to come in a little sooner to hit it. Ultimately, they get the job done.
They get it done. Again, a good early game from Snake, even though they lost those 2 kills over to Dan. It's again what we saw in game 1. But this time, they have a Kog'Maw. So, Kog'Maw's always going to secure those late game team fights as long as he's protected. And we've seen that all the time in the LPL. Love our Kog'Maws.
Yeah, you always have that caveat, though, as long as he's protected. And we always get the Kog'Maw games where, you know, dive into the Kog'Maw, send as many abilities to stun him and kill him, and then you try and win the game when he's dead. It's very basic, but with that being said, he wins too many games recently.
Yeah.
Doesn't even matter if he loses that one team fight. He comes back alive, and then he wins you the game in the next team fight. So, yeah, you're right. Even though there are strategies up against Kog'Maw in the LPL, it's actually so hard to play up against, which is why he's been getting banned so often recently.
Just takes that one team fight where it's just like Kog'Maw just gets to sit and spit, and he just murders your entire team. It's like, well, if we even miscommunicate or mis-execute very, very slightly, Kog'Maw just gets to do his thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Kog'Maw, AD carry position as a whole. Actually, before we even get to that,
the wall and cat play, but nice juke there, or nice barrier out from Hootie, stopping the wall. Maokai tanking a lot of damage, but took a long time for Lies to hop over, and now he's under duress. Double kill to Crystal, flash from Hootie. They want a third now onto Gung, but he's surfing that wall, so he should be able to get away, but kind of because I'm over the wall in this from this one. And Flandre locks up Choo Choo. Third kill of the fight, make that the triple kill for Kog'Maw, looking for the 4th now. And Zatai finds it just on the edge of the null sphere.
Yeah, Dan thought they could look to contest for Rift Herald. But you know what? Worst case scenario. You lose Rift Herald, you lose the team fight, and now they're going to use Rift Herald to take 2 successive towers. I wonder if they go for a 3rd one. Pulse, I wonder. Wait, they're going to leave it.
What?
No, stay with
for
the
the
Rift
next
Herald.
one.
Unfortunate.
Disaster. That was definitely a second turret on the cards there, Mr. Raz.
Yeah, Goong had no mana too.
You saw it, I saw it.
Yeah. It's not like you lose much at all if you take a little bit too much time on the map too.
It's a Cloud Dragon after all.
Exactly. So this was beautiful. You love to see the Braum picks up against Talia because of that. You send the wall out there, you stop the other wall, and you just see the team fight being had here. It's very hard for Dan, especially since they don't have the damage initially, and it's just honestly Snake barreling them down.
Yep, pretty much. Flandre gets the animation on his Cataclysm, so he follows Choo Choo over the wall. And Crystal just goes to town in this final Dark Sphere. Boop. Takes our cat, who's literally on the edge of the sphere. So it feels pretty bad for him, but still 4 kills, and that was all off of that last fight. So not only have Snake, caught up in kills, they've surpassed Dan in that single play, and they have the Herald, which took mid lane tower. They're 3 towers to 1, massive gold lead for them, and the Kog'Maw's huge 3-0-1 and has a wit's end. So Snake, they're in pretty much the Goldilocks zone, the perfect situation for themselves.
Everything looks great, fine and peachy if you're Snake. We've said that before though, so that's why we have to have that caveat.
Yep, there's always a but in there, unfortunately.
Last game was looking great for Snake really early on, and then they just lose a team fight. Now, at the very least, their team fight power is much stronger versus Dan, especially at this point in the game. You have that Kog'Maw insurance policy, so even if the game looks a little bit too grim, you can just pop in. Hey, I got a double kill. That's fun.
Well, hello. Nice knock up there from Cat, but he's trapped in the ring against Flandre. But in comes Choo Choo. Oh, Dragon Strike, and now it's the 1v1 when Flandre, with this new challenger approaching. I'm not even sure that Choo Choo's is winning this. Flag, drag, follow after. Flash comes up. He's looking for the knock up, but the Buster Shot knocks him away. The chase continues, and Choo Choo, he's on the run.
All right. Great escape. Just kidding. It's about to stall pretty quickly.
Oh, the gods have found him. See you later. Crystal will find his 4th kill of the game.
All right, that's what you can't escape Azkaban, and he was just right in there. He was not leaving that prison. He's dead. Now, essentially, that feels like a 2v1 because Jarvan should have lost that fight, but it was Cat who was isolated first. It was Cat that had to use ulti on himself to start the fight. So it wasn't Cat looking for Jarvan. It was Jarvan just finding a rogue support alone. And so getting that initial pick off, and then Tristana thought she could do something about it.
I mean, it's not too difficult when it's just like, yes, a new challenger approaches, and I get to just 1v1 everybody when you're jobbing. It's just like, okay, well, this is fine.
It's like a survival mode in any game. You just have waves of waves and opponent. But in that wave, it's just one person.
Yep.
You're like, this is easy.
First one was a support, and the second one was an AD carry, so not fantastic. Crystal will get a couple auto attacks, and he's like, my W's worn off. So I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to go for bot wave. See ya.
Oh, yeah, it's the bot wave. I was like, why don't you just take the blast? Nope, just kidding. No, he doesn't want any part of this dragon. So this is actually a good setup, too. It's not even just for him getting the minion wave, although that's always nice. You set up for the next objective, and that's the tower. So right now, sure, Syndra is taking mid lane turret. Now this is gonna, the blue buff, which is why it's gonna change up your focus a little bit. But once Syndra has her mana, she might actually want to back 2 just to get her next item. She should be holding on to quite a bit of gold. You should just want Syndra to stay mid, so you can rotate to sides where Kog'Maw and the Braum are basically pushing up. They're going to change that just a little bit and put Kog'Maw mid. I don't necessarily agree with this unless if their plan is to dive onto mid lane turret.
I think that's FM, sat in the bush, waiting for a potential flank, seeing if anyone comes on by. Looks like his recall is actually disrupted by a sapling. And we're 18 minutes in.
All right, you know what?
Dan Gaming exist.
All right, who's getting hit?
Lies is coming into the top lane for the tie. Teleport is going to turn into a 2 versus 2, but Dan had the 2v1 for the time being. Flandre turns up flag, drag, jumps onto Goong. Where's the Cataclysm? There, taking a trip to Dunktown. And Lies losing his 1 versus 1 as well against the tie. SOFM came out there, gives it a bit of a giggle because he definitely stole that kill, but a 2-0 to Snake.
And you know what? Dan thought they found a hole in Snake's defense. They were like, you know what? Kog'Maw definitely based to get her Blade of the Rune King. Now she's going to base for the Blade of the Rune King. But they recognized that Snake were looking for item points, and they had a Syndra in the top lane, in a very long lane, by the way. So they just looked at Diver, and they were pretty close to getting it. They didn't even get Zatai's flash, and it turned around pretty quickly. So pretty bad from Dan, but still, I liked the look. I like that they're still active, even though the game feels so far off for them.
Well, Hootie has blocked those minions. He's being such a good support. He's helping Crystal break some CS numbers right here. He's going to have like 200 CS at 19, 20 minutes.
Yeah, give the man a bonus in his contract for that.
This is the big Kog'Maw. This is a 2-item Kog'Maw at pre-20 minutes.
Feels good. Doesn't have a lot of, let's say, HP, none of that. Just a lot of attack speed, a lot of damage. Blade of the Rune King and Wit's End. At this point, Crystal still feels incredibly well protected. Because Dan has too much to worry about. You don't have time to worry about Crystal, especially since a lot of the time it's Flandre who's jumping on top of you, dealing so much damage. It's Zatai who's doing the same. And then, of course, you have a Gragas flying at you with a pretty large belly. So it's Crystal who's joining the fights pretty late. But by the time he joins the fight, it feels like the fight's already well and done.
Yep. But you pretty much have to. You have to focus out Crystal because he's just being constantly fed, spoon-fed by his team. When he gets into these team fights, like look at the front line. Like Lies primarily just HP, Karen HP. There's no real resistances right now for Dan Gaming, and you know, Crystal will just slice through that like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, so that's when we have to look towards Dan's composition and wonder what's going to net them a win at this point. Tristana does absolutely no damage. She has Runan's Hurricane, then just a BF sword at this point in the game. She is so broke, absolutely poor. So, yeah, not in a good position, Choo Choo. And Goong, of course, is a Banshee's Veil first item Talia. So you have a defensive Talia, doesn't have much damage to begin with. And Choo Choo, who he's just trying to battle the minions. That's the real fight here. Tristana versus the minions. So yeah, no damage on anyone on Dan Gaming.
Imagine having to use Talia Wall to scout Baron because you have no blue trinkets. It feels bad, man.
It's a definite feels bad.
Like someone should have a blue trinket.
They should. One thing I love about like a team that's winning, a team that has a lead, you don't really want blue trinkets because of course you want to be able to have firm control. So that's why you see Zatai picking up the red trinket to be able to clear out the vision. You don't have to necessarily buy as many control wards, or at least if you do buy that many control wards, you just have so much control of that objective.
Yep.
But if you're in a losing team, if it's hard for you to walk up to an objective, buy an extra blue trinket. The yellow trinket is great if you can walk up to an objective and put a ward down, but a lot of the times you're losing just based off that one pick, so you can't even get that ward down, or at least that ward down costs your life.
He's got it, Raz. Feels good, man.
There we go.
Choo has the blue trinket. And you said buy. You don't even need to buy it. You just trade in your old one. It's for free.
Yeah. I just want Goong at this point to be able to purchase it. I mean, purchase it. Just get it. Just pick it up. It's in there.
Yep.
It's like going through a garage sale.
Practically a steal.
And you're like, wow, I was going to a garage sale. I thought I was getting something pretty cheap. But they actually just don't want any part of this item.
Nope.
Trying to give it to me for free.
They'll pay you to take it.
I feel good.
Okay, well, knock Karin into the team, put him in position for the cats to come in. We're locking up Flandre off to the side, pops the ultimate. He'll get chased away, flashes out of this one. But it was, again, just buying time for his team to hit the top tower, which they do not get on Lies. He gets some alone time with his tower.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the worst case scenarios for Snake. In any other meta, you pick off the carry, you're like, wow, we've actually just demolished him. Suddenly we're back into the game. Yay. But Jarvan at this point in time is pretty tanky. So that just stops the push from Snake, but it doesn't net Dan much. It nets them more time, which, sure, that's great. But it's 22 minutes into the game, and you need a lot more time to burn.
Yeah, you need more time, but there's a Cogmore in the enemy team who has 3 items, and it's 22 minutes into the game. So like, I'm a little bit concerned for whatever Dan do.
Here's the thing about Dan. At the very least, they have good side lanes in their composition. Like, Kled can be a major threat in sides and then turns into a pretty large threat in flanking team fights. So that's a big worry for a lone Kog'Maw. Same can go for the utility of sending Weaver's Wall. And of course, Tristana can actually just go on sideways and try to see if anyone can pick it up and burst them down. So I actually think that Dan, if they get the items, that's a big if, because they don't have the items. They don't have the gold. Then they can be a threat. It's not so much in team fights, because the front to back is still going to be pretty threatening from Snake.
Yep. Dan just very far down in this game. Though, we literally just had a game 1 where we said there's no way that Dan can possibly win this game. And then they won the game. So it's difficult for me to sit here and you know, not have that but.
Through a lot of shenanigans. And you can never attest to shenanigans. Like the small shenanigan of 2 control wards in that Baron buff.
It's going to take a good 8 auto attacks to clear those.
That's true. You could have had that control ward somewhere in the red side jungle so you can...
Oh, no, stop it.
Don't do it to me.
Not like this.
My ears.
Not like this.
What base?
Okay.
Okay. So, control ward, you know, control ward, put it further into the red side jungle. Something happened to us offense life. It's pretty sad.
He put the spike down, and plus he's got. It's always happy hour with Gragas, so he's gonna get his health back. Don't worry about it.
That's true.
It's lucky for Gragas that you know, he's in China, because you don't really want to be in Australia with those prices. Actually, just stop. Actually, stop it. Okay.
He's running away from the Kog'Maw.
Yeah. He just doesn't want to hear this.
He just hears demons in his ears. And you're like, no.
I don't want this. I could probably go for this 1v1, but I just don't. I don't want it. Not anymore. So Ty just got catted.
It hurts. It hurts that the cat has to blow up.
Up gongs out. Doesn't even get to get the tower. Ah, man. Dana just... At every single turn, they just have to use ultimates to escape. They can't get the towers. It's just like not even table scraps.
If you're Snake at this point, knowing that Weaver's Wall is down, you'd probably just start the fight. Half mana on Goong. You don't even have your main utilities, bro.
Okay. Goong's caught out.
All right.
Has to use the flash as well. Man, so many resources being burned here, Raz.
She doesn't have HP. She doesn't have her ulti. She doesn't have her flash. She doesn't have much.
But she has her life, and that's all she needs. This cat's confused. Okay.
There we go. She should not have her life very soon if they look to contest this Baron.
Cats are marching. Cats coming in from the bottom side as well. The cats everywhere. Choo-choo wants to get in range onto opposite Ty and Lies. He just came into the fight, but he's discalled. Karin into the back line, but he just disappeared, never to be seen again. But Choo-choo, look at him. Everyone incredibly low. This could be the cleanup time. But Unleashed Power will make sure that he doesn't jump into that fight.
Dan is too low, but they do have some lifesteal on Choo-Choo, so being around Baron means a lot knowing that Zatai is down. But that's an example of a team fight in which Snake will start to feel uncomfortable about. But they're going for another one.
Rutro, here comes the ultimate in from Flandre, jumps on top of Gung, and you know he has no way to get out of that.
A good comeback. Now they're able to take the life of Gung, and so the 20-second difference between Zatai and Gung means the whole world to Snake. They can actually just go back towards Baron and pressure it once again, knowing that they're going to have the numbers advantage.
Kog'Maw will destroy this Baron as well once he gets in range. Here we go, and that number is dropping fast, Raz.
I wonder if they're going to be able to contest this.
Lies hits the charge button once more, jumps on top of Flandre, and more importantly, the Kog'Maw Crystal needs to get these people right off him right now. He's about to fall to Lies, and there it is. Karin over the wall again, but the Baron secured out from S2FM, who turns it on towards Cat, but he's being kited out by Choo-Choo's as well. He'll juke towards the bottom side of the river, and in comes Zatai, pops the full combo. That was unnecessary, but the overkill will put Choo-Choo 6 feet under. Flandre now corralling Cat into the top side of the map.
What happened, Cat? Why are you here?
He's in a box, and he doesn't want to be in this box.
Run! You have so much to live for.
Well, that's 8 lives remaining, and 3 for 2 in the end. Snake come out with a massive win, including the Baron.
Yep, so it could have looked pretty bad for Snake just because they were burning down the Baron, but it looked like the fight was a loss. But the numbers advantage really caught up. Zatai specifically caught up to them, was able to rejoin the fight, and so now you have 3 members of Snake with Baron buff. I wonder what Dan can do to really stop this. Honestly, what am I'm just joking. You know what they're gonna do? Stop this. There's only one option, and that's to fight them. The only question is how they're gonna start this fight.
Right, that's irresponsible, Crystal. I'm gonna need you to clean up after yourself.
Yep.
Those Krugs aren't gonna kill themselves.
Don't leave your garbage behind.
Who would do that, Raz?
No one would do that.
Absolutely unspeakable.
No one would do that. It would be too irresponsible.
100%. Anyway, Crystal gonna push in this bottom lane. And yeah, Snake. Now the fact that Crystal's got his Stair-X, which still feels like a very odd item on anyone who isn't stacking health because it's based off of bonus health now, it still gives him a bit of tankiness.
Yep. Give him that bit of protection he's going to need, knowing that the rest of his team's going to be diving forward. Yeah, you're right. The ooh is proper because Flandre lost his HP. He's lost it. It's somewhere. It's not with him.
Nope, Choo-Choo has it now. He's taken it from him. And Choo-Choo, yes, he's very strong, but he's 2.5 items. Well, I guess he's completed. That's 3 items compared to the Kog'Maw, and ultimately Kog'Maw is always going to do more damage. Yeah. Though he does have the Ardent Center as well.
It's a weird road for Choo-Choo. The fact that he's been so poor for so long. Okay.
Oh, get out of here.
You're not coming along on this ride.
Nope, this is reserved for Talia's only. And the full engage out from Dan now. They know that Flandre's locked in the top lane. Gung putting the hurt down onto Hoodie, but they're just going to lose their front line. Dan Gaming, I didn't even know what happened to them. And Choo-Choo gets arc clicked. And that's just a feels bad, man.
You think you're doing well. You even get the 3-man knockup, but there's no damage to follow it up. And Zatai has a lot of damage. So that was the best opportunity Dan had, but they're paying the price for it. It could be a game.
It actually could be here, Raz. With 3 down, Gung and Cat the only ones remaining. A massive minion wave here, plus the Baron. I would not be surprised if Snake are able to finish off with this push. SFM is actually going to tank the tower, and Flandre comes in for the top lane as well. They are looking for this one. Gung trying his best to clear out the minion wave, because honestly, that's all he can do at this point in time with 5 members remaining. Recalls. There's still a long time on these respawns. They turn to the Nexus. I don't think it's going to be that close, but in comes Karin. Just needs to put a couple more auto attacks down, and there it is. Snake secure game 2.
And it's going into a game 3, Pulse. We kind of expected it would happen. Snake have been playing well, and they bring it. This guy right here, Zatai, has a phenomenal game to come back.
They definitely brought it. They brought the noise. And yeah, that will be the win out there for Snake, bringing us to a game 3. Dan Gaming, there was no shenanigans this game. They fell behind in the early game, and they didn't really have a way of coming back in. There was that one fight around Baron where I was just like, oh man, maybe the resets can come in for Choo Choo, and the apocalypse happens for Snake, but it wasn't to be. And that means that we'll go down to that deciding match now.
That's the thing about a team fighting meta. You just never know what the result is going to be, no matter how large a lead is. Because if you mess up one team fight, just one execution, you'll lose the world. And this time around, Snake played this one properly through. The early game lead was there. They played around Crystal, who had leads for himself, was being fed a lot of kills. And not only did you have a Kog'Maw investment that was made very early on, but Zatai also was just doing very well this game.
Some big numbers across the board from both teams, actually. And you do expect to see it. In fact, Crystal actually did the lower damage up between his top laner and his mid laner. But, you know, he did the damage when it counted in those team fights. You know, most of his time was actually spent doing damage to minions so that he could beat people out in those fights. So that's honestly what we expected. And, like, obviously the difference between this game and game one that we saw was Snake got ahead, but he actually closed it out. And it ended at around half an hour, which is around the time they should have finished game one as well. So the blueprint was still the same, but they actually had the ability to just finish it.
Yeah, exactly. And Snake are going to be just a tiny bit upset that it wasn't just a clean 2-0 for themselves. But now going into Game 3, you talked about the blueprint already being there and solidified. They've hammered it through in Game 2. And so now in Game 3, a lot of it's just do the same thing you did in Game 2. Do the same thing you did in Game 1 and just be able to be confident that you can close it out. Now Dan has to show a lot in Game 3. They actually have to show something completely different. Not a Skarner pick, though maybe it's going to throw, you know, maybe you throw in a ban in it. I didn't agree with the ban in Game 2. I don't agree in a possible ban in Game 3.
Still got the win, Raz.
That's true. Not because of Skarner. Okay, maybe one team fight it was because of Skarner, so I'll give him that. But ultimately, Dan has to showcase more, I would say, team fight prowess. Early game strength. I actually want to value their early games a little bit more because I think this time around, their early games have faltered 2 games in a row. Laning phase specifically in the bottom lane. There was a 2v2 win in game 1, but then ultimately they still faltered because of that TP play that happened. So a lot of times it just feels like it doesn't matter who the AD carry is, be it Crystal or OQ, Snake are still solidifying leads in the bottom lane of the map.
I hope that the adaptation from Dan Gaming is not to bring in a different person in their roster, though. I hope that the changes that they make are just to the draft and how they play the early game and how they play the mid game, not with fundamentally what they do in terms of the roster. Because I think that the A roster as a group, as like a not like a pairing, but you know, as the 5-man unit is. You shouldn't mess with that. I think that you want to change different factors. Because if you change like 5 factors, then you don't know which one was actually the thing that went wrong. Whereas if you just change 1 or 2, then that's a much better way of going about it.
And of the 10-man lineups that we have in the LPL, Dan is one of the teams that you can definitively say in each role that you already have the best of that role. You see Stunning Gaming, and it makes sense to be able to swap between both Dian and Fen. You can say that towards the jungle between Hacker and Avoidless. You can't say that with Dan because you've already seen them play. The only standout would be Chi, but Gung has just been playing very well. So Flandre picking up the MVP here, it makes sense. Zatai had a great game, but you just had a stellar performance from Flandre, was at the right place at the right time, was even able to get 2 kills on the top side of the map against an AD carry and a support. So I really liked his drive and play today.
Yeah, he was just killing everybody, so it makes sense for him to pick up the MVP in Game 2. It's only his 3rd one of the split, though, but that being said, Snake haven't won that many games, so it does actually make sense. But yeah, going back to like the Dan point as well, you know, like this team, the only reason I would see them ever swapping up members is if they swap out all of the members, because it seems like the B squad could maybe work again as a unit because they have that synergy. That's what it looked like to me when the first time we saw that B unit come out, and it was just like, man, Moyu just going on tear in top lane, fantastic. The rest of the team knows exactly how to play around it. And it was a different play style because it was a different team. Whereas a team of Dan Gaming, we've seen what they can do. They can actually pick up the wins within their group. So that's what I want to see from them. We are going to take a quick break, though, as will the teams, as we move on to Game 3. We'll see which one's going to take it, because Snake, this should be their series. about the conversation of who are the subs going to be coming into Game 2, because personally, I hope that there would be no substitutions for Dan Gaming, but top lane will be changed out, and so will bottom lane, Raz.
Yes. So bottom lane specifically would be Phage coming in, I
Yep.
believe. Phage, what we have seen from him, great Rakan play, and I think a lot of the times you would have to challenge Dan in the shot calling that they've had, or at least the calls or decisions that they've made. And so changing it up could be interesting because the last we've seen from Phage was actually pretty decent. That being said, if I were to make any change, going back to our earlier discussion, it would be none. Because I think that of all of these players in individual roles, we have seen all of the members from the sub lineup play. And I think that every player thus far in Dan, the best that we've seen. Goong has been having an incredible last 2-3 weeks of what we've seen from him. And in the top lane, the only real argument you can make Moyu versus Lies is that Moyu will have those incredible Jax games, right? He can really carry a game for you, but he can also really just like int out a game. So there's a lot of moments where he's either feast or famine, so it's a risk. Maybe they're trying to go for that risk and see if they can take a game 3, because ultimately they're feeling pretty desperate in getting that first win.
I mean, Feast and Famine is like the perfect way to describe that one, Raz, because with Moyu, it's just like you can have... It's basically like old Huni, right? It's like 10-0 or 0-10. And while Lies is more consistent, if you are trying to eke out a win at the in the third game, because game 2 looked like this is what Dan will do every single time, so if that doesn't work, then come out of the X Factor and see if this is... You flip the coin, and maybe it is that 10 that you get on the day. And that's perfect, because then actually gets you a win, wins you the series. So I can understand that mentality, but I would just prefer if you just kept that original roster for, if nothing else, just learning for them so they can actually stay as a unit instead of just, you know, constantly swapping out players.
Yeah, that's fair. And one of the biggest thing about, like, let's say that comparison between Moyu and Huni, at the very least, Huni is the shot calling element as well. If he's going in, the team will follow through. That's not the case here with Moyu a lot of the times, and so that's why if he's going all in on a lot of plays, you have to play around him. And I wonder how that's going to go for this team. With Karin in the jungle, he's going to have to look towards the top lane a lot more often, regardless of what pick Moyu does go towards, whether it's the carry that we expect or the tank that, quite honestly, a lot of times you want to play away from. But Moyu is as aggressive as humanly possible, so it's going to be a weird element. So you'd have to expect Dan to try and go for a 1-4, 1-3-1 composition. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and to be fair, I was talking about European Huni, so back when he was, you know, that player who we would have to play around. And at that time, it was Spirit, actually, who was facilitating Huni at pretty much every step of the way as well. But it was the team having to react to, like, what's Huni doing now? Is he pushing a lane? Oh, he's out there inhibiting the turret, and it's like 5 minutes into the game. Okay. You know, and you'd have to, like, adapt as you go.
That's true, that's true. I wonder, actually, I think Spirit, this is going to be another discussion altogether, but I remember... when Fnatic got dispersed, the Dragon Balls had all left. And their response was to get Spirit and Gamsu. So that was one of those moments. Get the combination, the pairing. There's not going to be a pairing here because it's going to be Moyu with Karin this time rather than Moyu with Fishball, the substitute jungler. So they're making prime substitutions. And a lot of the times you'd have to expect it just being based off of whatever they've seen in practice. Because if it's based off the last time we've seen these individuals, I'm not too stoked on it.
Just to correct myself as well, because I know someone's going to call me out. It was Huni and Rainover, I meant to say, not Spirit.
There we go.
Because I know someone's actually writing a tweet right now.
I may be right beside you.
Stop that tweet.
I may be right beside you.
Correcting myself now.
I'm writing that tweet right now.
Okay,
so
stop it, Raz.
I'm sending it.
All right. So, into this game 3. I know you are the king of flip-flops. We have given you that title time and time again.
That's true.
So, I know that you tipped Snake. We both did. But who are you leaning towards now?
I am leaning towards Snake, unless if a ridiculous composition comes through. They've just essentially won 2 games in a row.
Yep.
2 early games, caveat. But you'd have to expect, with the lessons they've had in Game 2, that Game 3, that they should be able to close it.
This is them going to have to win 3 games in a row in the best of 3. This is the Snake story.
Yeah. I would watch that documentary.
What constitutes a ridiculous draft from Dan, Raz?
Well, I already see Barrier 80 carry and Ignite support. Now, I know they're going to change it, but I just already love what I see. But no, a ridiculous draft from Snake or from Dan. Just
either team.
Okay. I mean, Kog'Maw's up, so no, just kidding. Kog'Maw's been banned. Well, I've already lost that one. Zaya Rakan. I'm just going to say Zaya Rakan. I'm already going to cheat because I already see Rakan here, and I know that Phage has had phenomenal Rakan plays previously. And I just love seeing those duo come together, especially since the Kallista's been banned out. And so if you have those two together, suddenly just bring in the Cho'Gath, bring in as many tanks as you possibly can. Just kidding. That also got banned.
This isn't going well for you, Raz.
It isn't. I'm actually just failing so hard at this test. I'm gonna say a Gragas. Go for a Gragas, and it's stack more tanks. You know what? You can't lose with that answer.
Tank stack.
There we go.
All right, we've got it. It's like you got up to the first hurdle and fell over, and then you got up, and then you hit your head on the second hurdle.
I'm the worst Olympic racer.
Turns out it's quite difficult.
The Dubai Olympic racer.
Varus pick for Crystal very early on, and there's the duo. So you nailed that prediction, Raz.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's just the rest of them was very difficult.
Very true. So it'll be a Jarvan as well. We'll see how that goes to jungle or top lane. Though I do expect Moyu to have more of a, let's say like a carry pick.
Yeah, I believe that Jarvan is a safe carry pick, but Moyu does not want himself a Jarvan. He wants to know exactly what Snake has up their sleeve. Bait them with the Jarvan pick. Say, hey, that's actually jungle. Karn has actually picked himself up a Jarvan, and I'm going for a Jax.
Yep.
So knowing that the Maokai is here, and that SOFM does not want to play Maokai, I do expect a crazy counter pick just based off the studying that Dan has done thus far, and recognizing that they can actually pick whatever they want up against the Maokai.
In before Moyu picks like Irelia or something.
Ooh.
Or something like insanely spicy.
That'd be fun.
Well, it's Skarner again.
Yeah, still don't want Skarner through.
That's hilarious. Okay. Orianna for Zatai. Yep. Fairly stock standard. Final ban from Snake. What's it going to be?
All right. Let's see. Since they've already targeted one ban towards jungle, they can go towards a Kayn. But this composition is too squishy thus far coming out of Dan, so they're not. If the Kayn does come through, then they would be like, okay, well, you know what? We can just out-tank you.
Yep. Galio ban I like because we already have the Jarvan, so we don't want the slam dunk combo in from Dan, which would suck a lot for Snake.
Now, Talia is still up and available. So the mid lane bans being levied would have to force Zatai to pick Talia or pick against it. Now, I actually think that Zatai has done so well picking against Talia because he's gone towards the Twisted Fates in the past. He's also gone towards like a Kassadin pick. So you would have to expect Zatai, his creativity to kind of start being snowballed here, just because Goong would want himself to be on top of the Talia pick.
Gragas again for SOFM, so even when given the opportunity, when Kayn was open, Gragas was the option there for SOFM, so that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Seems like your theory is very much correct. And there's the Jax. What a shocker.
No
Moyu's
one
in
was
the game.
surprised. Absolutely nobody. They're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we knew that Karn was going to be forced to play Jarvan.
Mild shock. And Corki as well for Goong. So, all right. Makes sense from Dan. Let's look towards the final pick now from Snake.
I'm actually surprised they went towards the Corki, because going towards Talia would make sense in supporting the Jax pick, but going towards the Corki is safer depending on the matchups. You don't get the Kassadin picks up against Corki, but it does mean now that their late game is going to be pretty scary if they get to that point. And there we go. That's what I like to see.
Let's go, Zatai. Zed is the final pick. We've only seen one so far in this split of the LPL, but it has won. He did win that game.
Here we have it. I mean, we were going to see a spicy mid pick. It was going to happen. The Orianna and the Cassiopeia bans made it so Goong was going to get a proper blind pick, but there's no such thing as a proper blind pick versus an assassin player of Zatai's caliber.
Yep, I'm excited for this one. Zed into Corki could definitely work out well, but we've also got to think about that Jax.
That was an earthquake on the Dan side of things.
Calm down.
There's too much hype in Dan's composition.
He's out of control. Someone stop this man.
Too excited.
You have a hype composition. The fact that you have a Jax and a Zed in the game is pretty great. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Now, Zed, you'd love to see him on side lanes once he gets his items, once he's gone past the laning phase, but you don't want him to see him on a side lane versus Jax. That's one fight you don't want to see happen.
Yep.
Unless if your name's Jax.
All right, we'll see if we can see the Zed do well, because I believe it was Yahoo last time who played it, and he did win that game. But fun fact, Zed has a 20% win rate worldwide right now, so
there we have
it's not been going particularly well, despite the lethality meta coming back in for a brief stint. But more often than not, we're just seeing tanks. People are realizing that tank itemization, pretty good.
You know what's funny about the recent patches, 7.13, 7.14? Great fun. With lethality being buffed in, and then mega tanks being buffed in, you're like, man, both of them are strong. But wait a second, you don't want to build lethality versus tanks. Just kidding. No, just one of them are strong. So it's still great for red side to be able to have that lethality option. But you'd have to wait it out to see if you're going up against mega tanks. This time around, Dan has a fairly squishy composition, so Zed is an option. In fact, the Varus could actually go lethality. It's a possibility.
Did you just say the Varus can go lethality?
That did come out of my mouth. I'm just saying, there's a lot of possibilities in this game. Pulse.
Yes.
Think of the possibilities.
There's a possibility that Jax goes AP. Is he going to? No.
You can't say that. You can't look into the future.
Neither can you, Raz.
But I can make statements like, it's possible.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say is you can say anything is possible.
And it is.
Okay.
Possible.
You're not wrong, but you're very also not right. Keystones.
Nothing surprising.
Anything weird out there? And I'm saying keystones, not summoner spells. Keystones.
Exhausts. But no, everything checks out here. So,
Okay.
Double Warlords on Choo-Choo and Goong. You expect that to happen. You expect it to be the case, but it's also very difficult to play against that. Once they start getting their crit items, once you start seeing IE, Trinity Force on Goong, and Choo-Choo, of course, once he gets his 3-item spike, how do you play against that? Kind of difficult. And what also is pretty difficult is playing Zed into the Xayah. Because, of course, you have the ability to play out of it. There's a lot of kiteable options Xayah has. So Zed, once the game starts moving and starts trucking, his options are going to be fairly limited. Wants to go towards Fade, but of course you have the Charm, CC. You want to go towards Goong. He has Exhaust.
Okay. From Fade. There's going to be a bunch of damage onto Crystal. We can get the Blade Core as well. Instant exhaust comes in from Hootie, and it has to be. Crystal backs away, turns the damage on towards Phage, and he will get some return damage as Hootie is chasing out Choo-Choo as well. Once this final auto attack for the concussive blows.
So it's still an advantage for Dan because potion advantage is still in for Choo-Choo. So for there, I mean, it's still going to normalize in a sense where both are just going to be able to farm it out, but Dan will have more pressure in the lane after that trade.
We're back away. Goong actually went down and placed a very deep ward in the Pixel Brush in the bottom river to spot out SOFM for this early game, because of course Zed getting an early kill would be quite bad. So Zatai is just going to get harassed here as well.
It's also incredibly unlikely. Zed, even though amazing champion, so fun, fun champion to play, just so hard to execute because, of course, a lot of the times you're an early game champion, but you have such a weak laning phase most of the time. It's so counterintuitive if you want to be find use in your compositions. So it's just hard to play around. You need to really have a second focus in your composition so the Zed can benefit. Let's say, usually if you pick a Zed, you get an Elise jungle, so you can actually get picks off. Like, for instance, you can have the Elise go bottom lane, you can set up with the Zed Elise, or you can just send Elise mid, you can get the kills. But if you don't have that option, which they don't have in this game, then Zed a lot of times will just be trying to play the lane as passively as possible to farm up well until you hit level 6, and then you see multiple members come towards the mid lane to see if they can fight and support the Zed pick. You're not going to get a 2v2 in favor of Zed Gragas, especially with Sums still being up and available for Goong, having flash and exhaust. It's going to be hard for Zatai for a little bit.
It will be, but he's farming very well actually into this lane. He hasn't even had to use any of his potions, it looks like, against Goong, so Goong hasn't necessarily put his focus on trying to stop Zatai from farming.
Yep.
bottom lane, there is a big CS advantage though. Yes, there's maybe like 1 or 2 more minions to resolve for Choo-Choo, but that's still like 2-wave advantage to Crystal.
That's kind of weird to see that being happen. Especially when with Choo-Choo and Phage winning out in the early trades. It's still kind of difficult to push against the Varus and Braum, especially early on into the game because of the utility that they have. But they still, there's like no excuse for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I would like to look at top lane, but we haven't seen it just yet. As Moyu has done very well for himself so far, has a good amount of farm. So he just burnt his second stack of his corrupting potion, and maybe looking to back right now as well. Yeah.
I mean, I know, I don't understand why you want to look at the top lane now. You didn't want to see the tank fights happen the last game.
Okay, well, first off, it's not a tank fight this time, and second, this is 5 minutes into the game, not 40. So
I'm just saying, not much is going to be happening with the Jax. There's no kill pressure. He's going to be farming, has that corruption potion.
But
sure, he has
this
Sheen
means
now.
more Raz, because if the Jax gets out of laning phase, and the fact that he's gone Sheen first off means that he is so comfortable in this lane that he can maybe set up kill pressure for himself in the Maokai before he hits level 6.
You know what? That's
that?
fair. But that just means the observer has to tune in about 8 minutes into the top lane. Not now.
I want to see it though. Alright, SOFM. He just shows his face. Goong, he had Valkyrie up. It's all good.
You say it's good, but that man has no mana now.
It's mostly good.
It's pretty okay.
It's okay. It's passable. It's 5 out of 10.
And the only thing that really means is that Zed will have an even easier laning phase. So him getting to Serrated Dirk, which he has, and a lot of blades, a lot of swords. These are very cheap items for the Zed, obviously. So for him to be able to purchase this, and for, you know, Corki trying to get that one mega item of Trinity Force before he's useful, you can see it being in favor of Zed just for that alone. So you're going to see a lot more members getting into the mid lane from Snake, so they can utilize that small advantage, that small window that is in favor of Zed.
Serrated Dirk now picked up Fort as the tie, and you'd be surprised at how much damage that item does by itself for Zed in the mid lane. Because he's got that death mark, so you know the kill potential has increased significantly. Calm yourself, Raz. Phage doesn't have level 6 yet, so it's not going to be an all-in.
I'm never a calm person. Can't just tell me to calm down.
Chill out.
Okay.
Cool it.
All right.
Pipe down.
All right. Well, wait.
Well,
Can I
since
be
has
happy
no
now?
chill. Oh no.
Can I be excited now?
Yes.
He just stole red buff.
No. Well, that really sucks for Karen because that was his level 6 as well, I believe. So.
Wow.
That is a pain. This is going to be a lot of damage. Just kidding. He's not going to follow after. But yeah, Karen, without that red buff, means he's not going to be sustained in the jungle. That was going to be his level 6 because he just got it off Krugs. And he is actually in a battle to the death right now.
There's so much. Oh my god, he's gonna die. Please, Observer. I know he's backing, but it's still pretty hyphy. But yeah, now Zed has red buff, has the regen of red buff, has the auto attack burn from red buff. It's pretty good buff to have as an AD assassin.
Goong's angry. Goong is not happy with what just transpired.
Yeah, he had no part of that option. He was just sitting there. He just has Zed come back into the lane with a buff.
Yeah, Flandre, very aggressive there. He saw he had those caster minions and he was, alright, that was close. Yeah, he was like, I can definitely go for this trade. And then Moyu slapped him because that's what Jax does. So Flandre has probably just learned from that he can't trade with Moyu anymore.
It's gonna be tough. It's tough for a lot of people. It's tough for Goon. It's tough for Flandre.
Does anyone not have a tough life, Raz?
It's Moyu.
Moyu?
Yeah.
He's having a pretty good life.
You don't get to see a lot of Jax go straight into Sheen because you have to have some level of confidence in the fact that you're not going to get ganked, the fact that you can trade up against a tank like that. But now he has Phage. Usually you're like, oh, at least I'll get Phage components so I can trade, but at the same time be healthy enough to win out in these trades and not get immediately killed off of a gank. But the main pressure has been mid lane and bottom lane.
Yes, it has. What do you think the build will be for Jax here? Do you think it will be Triforce and Titanic Hydra?
I would say Titanic after the Blade of the Rune King. I'm going that far. I think that he's just going to rely on that sustain, and he's just going to auto attack. Maybe he'll get Tiamat, but he'll sit on that Tiamat. He'll go straight into Blade of the Rune King. That's my bet. That's what I'm sitting on.
It would make sense if he's just trying to get through Flandre. But Flandre is also going to stack armor as well, so we'll see.
Yeah, right now, if you're Flandre, you want to get an early on Bramble Vest, I believe it's called.
Yep.
You don't want to immediately turn it into anything, but you just want to sit on it just so whenever you get auto attack, you can trade back and you won't get the HP back from his corrupting potion. That is my suggestion to him. Speaking of suggestion, I expect and suggest that Goong runs away the moment he sees Zed, because that's a Duskblade of Drakthar.
It is a 10-minute Duskblade. Yep.
Run!
Does a lot of damage. Lot of damage.
This is, oh, I'm actually so excited. You know when you see one of those intense movie trailers, you get to the movie and it's pretty disappointing, but it was the trailer that really sold you on the movie. We've just seen the trailer and it's Duskblade of Drakthar. Now we don't know what it's going to turn into, an actual hype moment, a team fight, just him going to the bottom lane and getting a trade.
Okay.
We're not promised any of that. We're just promised that it could happen.
But the trailer looks good, so I'm going to watch it. I'm going to pay my money to watch this probably happen.
Yes. There's more explosions. Like just you know, show as many blown up objects as possible. We might actually see something.
Okay, well, let's see if this bottom lane play is indeed directed by Michael Bay. Phage and Choo Choo locked up in with Cataclysm as well, or rather the Fissure teleport in very late, but the rest of the team is coming in. Massive knock up from Phage. And Choo Choo's backing away, but the Deathmark will put him down. 2 kills, traded back and forth from Snake and Dan. Goong now on the top side gets himself another one. And this is a complete mess as Flandre jumps on top of Goong and uses him to jump over the Dragon Wall. Karen chasing out SOFM. He's gone for a ride, but this drunken man is not going to be let out easy.
You might need some help. SOFM can take this fight.
Karen just needs to poke him, make sure he's stuck here, and SOFM trying to buy time more than anything else so he can execute.
SOFM can actually book it. He can actually run. He has nothing to worry about, but you know what? All right.
Where could he run, Raz?
There was nobody else to the right
route?
side of him. He could literally walk through that tower. He doesn't know it. We only know about it because we have the immediate, you know, vision of the minimap. He doesn't see that.
Okay, let's see. We can see the play one more time.
Yeah, so Corky's coming through, TP comes through, Jarvan is already moving towards this lane, and Phage gets a beautiful knock-up into a Xayah snare. That was so well done. They end up dying, but they just send the finishing touches for the rest of the team to clean up. So that was just really well done, a great defense, and Dan was prepared for it. Don't often get a chance to say that Dan is ready for the play, but it works out.
Yep. I don't think we were disappointed by the trailer whatsoever. I think that definitely paid off. We got our explosions. We got the big combo from Phage and Choo Choo.
Yeah, it was here's the thing. You expect the explosions from Zatai, right? You expect him. I mean, he ends up getting a double kill, so that's good for him. But it felt like more of a just like self-destruct button that was pressed by Snake. They get the Duskblade of Drakthar. They go towards trying to blow up that objective, get a few members. Sure, they get those 2 members, but they also die in the process.
Actually, Moyo also picked up a kill off of that, so he's very happy. Plus, the Herald is coming in. Yeah, I will give you the With Flandre, he's kind of put on a bit of a timer, though Karen starts tanking the turret, so does Moyu. And Flandre miraculously managed to defend that tower while the rest of Snake are taking mid lane.
That's not how that book was supposed to go.
Wait a minute, indeed. They are not going by the script. Flandre now caught in this pit, but Karen's the one who's tanking the tower, and then he actually dies. So, still, they get away with it because the tire's coming up. They cannot go for this tower, and Zatai is hungry for some kills.
Ooh.
His Duskblade is ready.
Okay, chase scene ended. That's the end of that one.
That was a bad car chase.
That was very bad.
That was low budget.
Ended very quickly.
Okay, well, Zatai pushing up this top lane. He's going back as well. He's not even going to push the tower. Okay.
Okay, so ultimately Snake get as much as they possibly could off that. Mid lane push into tower, and Flandre, sure, he died at the end, but he stalled for so much time and was able to save his own tower. So that was the most awkward dive I've ever seen coming out of Dan Gaming. But ultimately, I mean, Snake does the job and being able to regain a lot of that map. I actually wonder what boot Zatai is going to turn into. Like, of course, he has brown boots. You wouldn't want him to get the boots of mobility. But after that, chase scene ended so, you know,
Needs some
upsettingly.
new wheels.
He needs, yeah, he needs some kicks. I know.
Needs something. Infernal Dragon, first dragon of the game, 14 minutes in. Snake are going to make a play for this one as well, and I don't know if Dan are in position.
Definitely not, but they know it's happening. They have an idea of it happening, but it's far too risky, especially with Corki holding the wave mid, nowhere near being able to push that one out. So Dan as a team cannot push forward without the safety of knowing that they're not going to get popped by Satai.
I just want to
serious?
hit the tower.
He's
I
going
want to
for
hit
it.
the tower.
The wave's been kind of cleared.
That one minion, what a hero. Ah, Gung's here. Okay, Moyu's a little upset because he really wanted the solo gold for himself, but honestly does need help at this point.
Now send Gung away. Just
Oh
kidding.
no, Flandre's going deep. He knows that Zatai is right behind him. It's going to take a couple seconds for him to catch up, but he is almost on top of Gung. Gets the slowdown, and the sapling has come in. Here comes the death mark. Moyu turns it around. We'll get the stun up, but Gung absolutely evaporates. Zatai going very deep before popping back to his original shadow.
Yeah, that was, you know what, that was a little troll. But ultimately, good defense once again from Snake. No nonsense 2v1 coming from Dan Gaming. You're not going to be able to get the tower. In fact, it's just baiting you in.
And again, Snake just preying on Dan's aggression. Will take the top tower while they lose the bottom tower. So ultimately it is a trade-in here, but Dan do not get the second tower on top side.
At the very least, if you're Dan Gaming, they're still going for this push, but they also have 2 Trinity courses completed from both Corki and Moyu. So they should be feeling relatively comfortable in being able to push these trades. There are pinks coming through. They might want to look for a flank play. No, it's not going to happen.
That was really big actually from Dan. Picking up a second tower, like Zaya will rip through towers, especially with Java there as well. Like probably the perfect 2 people to have in that push. So
yeah.
Dan not only gets the first tower, but the second and the top side is probably going to fall to Moyu in the near future. So I'm a little concerned for Snake now, because as good as that play looked like, just because of the champions that came out and the way that their play eventually worked out, Dan have pulled ahead.
Wonder what Satai is waiting on. He's 3-1 and 0. He has has 1k gold. He's purchased himself 1 component of the Black Cleaver, but not the second component of Black Cleaver. He doesn't have the Phage. He has a Serrated Dirk instead. So he's gone between both items of Yomu's Ghostblade and the Black Cleaver. So one of these items are going to get completed.
Do you have to think it's the second lethality item? It might just be because he wants a bit of health.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what else could he go for if he wants to go towards Black Cleaver? Well, he'd just pick up like a longsword and health Ruby Crystal.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense in that sense, because you get more health from the Kindle Gem and you get the cooldown reduction.
It's fair. He's just been gated a little bit in terms of being able to roam to a position fast enough. So
Yeah.
Yomu's Ghostblade would help in that instance. But of course, you're right in that he does want the HP. But if he's looking to rotate towards these 2v1 situations, these small skirmishes, I don't necessarily believe that he needs the HP to do that, just that. But he does have the CDR from it, so that's fine.
Yep. It's just the fact that he's sitting on 1,000 gold after leaving base is the curious one. Because usually, if you're going for a lethality build, you just go to, you type in longsword, and then you buy as many longswords as you can with your inventory space.
You're really going to turn it to
then you leave, because it works for Black Cleaver. It works for, you need 4 of those for any lethality items. So it's just like, yeah, I'm going to use it.
I do remember one game. Don't remember who it was specifically. It was a Talon player, I believe, where you just had
4.
Yeah, you just had an extra serrated Dirk that wasn't going to turn into a thing because he already had all of the lethality items you could possibly purchase. Because he was just saying, you know what? I need the longswords.
Yeah.
That's going to turn into something.
But it's technically like, because it's a unique passive, you can get all 3 of the lethality items plus the ones from runes, and then like then another Dirk, and then you can have like 80 to 90 lethality.
Yeah, that's true.
And then your opponent just has no armor.
Especially in this game where you don't have yourself the Maokai's that he's going up against, that is. So he's going to be feeling pretty safe to be on a side lane. It's actually going to be Goong that should really hope that he gets that help. He's going in, but only because Phage is here.
A little bit scary, but yeah, gets the knock up the charm as well. And Zatai looks like a dead man right here. The final rocket doesn't land, but the ignite from Phage burns him out.
It's actually the fault of Zatai here, because you should not go all in on Goong. You should actually respect Goong in that scenario because you know that Goong is actually much weaker than you. There's no reason for Goong to look for that fight. So you just disrespected him and said, well, he's going in on me in a 1v1 situation. Of course I'm going to win.
Yep.
Just play it patiently until mid gets shoved out from Snake. There was no way Snake was going to do that just yet because they were coming right back onto the map. So at that point in the game, when you have the 1-3-1 set up, you just have to play patiently.
Yep. In the words of a wise man, it was a trap.
It was a trap.
Zatai did not recognize that. And that's a problem because he's the only person with kills on that team. So it's all of the kill gold going down the toilet when Snake lose their mid laner. And with Infernal Dragon on the board, it means Zatai is still back on the map, but he cannot afford to do that again.
Yeah. You always want to listen to high-ranking Admiral. So you're in a position right now where Snake, once upon a time, did have a lead. You know, now they're put in a position where they're in a deficit with a composition that should scale off, and they're losing ground when they initially had pressure, right? You don't want to lose pressure. Like right now they have Zed in the bottom side of the map only because they're playing towards this dragon, which is going to be coming up soon. But even if he joins the fight, he needs to be in a flank position. It's warded out quite heavily. So it's actually Dan who's going to be able to push Snake away from this objective.
Yep, Dan kicking it off. Teleport in from Snake, and Moyu's coming up to meet the rest of the team, but the fight's going to kick off to begin with. Choo Choo has to flash away, rides the wave on that one, but FaZe jumps into the backlines. Look at Flandre, he jumps onto Goong as well. Choo Choo backing it up, and here come the trees, locking down the rest of that team. Flandre flashes forwards. No one is dead yet, but it's about to get real messy from Dan. They lose Goong, and Moyu getting back as well, but Choo Choo, no flash for him anymore. He's knocked against the wall. Big blade caller, but 3 kills to Snake.
It was a little dicey for Snake, especially since Dan was able to see the TP coming, but they just couldn't disengage well enough. They probably didn't even see Zatai just perched into that bush. So you have a situation where Snake was able to get off a really good flank play and get right on top of Goong.
Infernal Dragon down over to Snake, and they will take a trip back to base. The coffers lined with gold, and they are in a fantastic place now in this game. Let's look at that one more time.
Yeah, it was control warded by Zatai too, so they were surprised when he got out of the bush. And then, sure, you thought immediately FaZe getting popped into the team was kind of unfortunate because, of course, she's going to be able to charm people to get them back up. But that also means that there was no follow-up there from the rest of Dan Gaming. That's Charm and the rest of the CC from Dan down. They cannot support the fight, and so Snake just kind of barrel in through on them.
Flandre is just so disruptive as well, and I have to point out that Choo Choo's ultimate was not great, and neither was his flash, because of his ultimate usage, he had to flash away. Didn't usually, if you're running into the Xayah, that's a fantastic thing for the Xayah, because she's great when people are running into her, because she can use her blade caller and root you, but that's not what he was able to do there, and it meant that Snake was able to run down Dan, not only pick up those kills, but take a bottom tower and a double Infernal Dragon.
Yes.
Snake are in an incredibly strong position.
Yeah, for him specifically, I think that was just a mechanical misplay because he was surprised by the Zed coming out. Had he used it in the right position, he would have been able to use his, recall his feathers, get a snare off, but there was no kiting as he mentioned. So now you're in a position where Snake, they're starting Baron. They're in a good position.
Yeah, though Baron has often been Snake's bane. Moyu in the bottom side just have that teleport. It's down to around half phage, just poking in, Karin around the backside, but doesn't have the smite for another maybe 5 seconds. Goong just getting that poke down onto the tanks. In comes the teleport that kicked off the fight. Dan going to use this opportunity, but Flandre hits the ultimate, but he's dragged into the team with that charm as well, and he will fall surely. Pulse the passive, buys a bit more time, but after that, Snake lose their top laner.
Such a good placement for Goong's package. There was no way from Snake to be able to traverse that field and join Maokai. They're put in such a bad position. Now Dan's going to be the ones taking mid lane turret, and they should be able to wrangle some vision towards Baron. In fact, it's Dan. You'd expect them to start it, knowing that someone has to be able to take the wave in the bottom side of the map. It's really dicey. Dan should just start it.
They have just started it. Snake coming in from the bottom side with 3. And Zatai on the top with the flank. Look at Phage, doesn't have the quickness, but does have both of his summons available. Zatai sat in this bush, war comes down, and spotted out the assassin. Hootie backing it up. And it was a good stop from Snake, so Dan will not get away with the Baron.
Yeah, Snake take the risky route of putting Maokai here and recognizing that they can push Dan off of Baron with just 4 members. They were right. Zatai was perched into another bush, of course, on the top side of the map, and was in a great flanking position for if Dan decided to fully commit. And so you're just seeing a very tense situation between both teams. Dan are actually starting to hit their real strong item points. Static Shiv on both Goong and Choo-Choo. Crit chance is going to be a big thing for both of these members. Goong he's not close to his IE yet, which is a pretty big thing. Once he gets to it, then they should be able to win out these team fights fairly heavily. So it's going to be on Snake to really start to put the pressure on Dan. Oh,
Yeah, Flandre, I think he hit the blast cone. Yeah, flag drag will hit the Cataclysm as well. Flandre is very tanky. It's going to take them a long time to kill him. His flash is coming up in around 2-3 seconds. He's buying time. The rest of the team has started the Baron, as you pointed out, Raz. And Dan completely disengaged from Flandre. He does have his teleport as well.
You know, that's fun. It takes so long to kill Flandre, who's blast coned in front of you, but you can't kill him because for however long it's going to take to do just that, you have 2 members in the bottom side of the map, and so that's going to be a free Baron for Snake. So there's no way for Dan to look to try and get a pick off of Maokai. They have to commit their members top side and hope that Moyu alone can take down Flandre.
It's difficult, especially with Moyu not having that teleport from the previous fight. Means that he can't just sit bottom lane because then Snake have control over the Baron pit. But we're only 26 minutes in and we've had like 5 attempts on Baron, but that's only natural when you have Dan and Snake in the game.
Yeah, and especially since a lot of confidence in how to start fights has been levied to both teams. And so you're not going to see cute control ward plays for both teams, seeing if they can pick up a fight with Flandre looking to roam up on Maokai. No, it's just going to be zeroing in on Baron. If you can get the last hit on that monster objective, on that purple worm, then you win the game. Unless if you lose the team fight, then you lose the game. It feels so linear, but a lot of the times it is just decided by these team fights, unless if Zatai and Flandre can get a pick off here.
Moyu called out in this one, and Zatai still has a bunch of damage to offer. Moyu doesn't get the stuff into Zatai, and he's going to have to kite around this. No, just kidding. I was like, he's got to kite around to and not take too much damage from Jax, but then Zatai, pop goes the Weasel, hits the ultimate, and down goes Moyu.
Yeah, Zatai played that so well, too, because Moyu would have 100% destroyed him had he gotten stunned in by his Counter-Strike. But he used his ulti to get out of it, and then he used his Shadow to assure that the time would just close through. And there's no way from Dan to start up Baron because SOFM was still on the top side of the map. Now he's looking for a flank. There's not many options for him. Oh, here you go, TP.
Instant teleport in that fog of war. Fade backing it up, hits the quickness, but he's unable to get to that backline in time. Goong is too heavily wounded, and Fade may have to just, flashes away, plus the dance over to Choo-Choo.
Yeah, but that's 2 members that are not going to be a part of it. 3 if you count Moyu that doesn't have TP yet. There's a lot of time for Snake to just go on to the objective.
Kicked it off. Looking at Karin as well. He's got the smite this time. Flag, drag, Cataclysm, everything is up for him.
Just about one button now. It's D. They can get the smite across.
Rest of the team coming in. It's going to come down to potential steal. In comes the smite. Goes over to SOFM. Secured. And then probably will just be leaving Karin to his demise now. Zatai, very low. Last rocket will be healed out from this one. Moyu into the backline. Gets the kill. Turns on to the rest of the team. This Jax is huge, but he's CC'd. And Crystal comes out of the double. Goong charging after Flandre. Flash over the wall. And the fight continues between the 1-on-1 and the backhand. Flandre gets that one. And a triple to Crystal.
It's about getting down that smite steal, and it wasn't going to happen. Snake picks up the fight as well. And sure, they're all basing, but that's such a major win from Snake.
5-1 that trade was, Raz, and 4 Barons left on Snake, plus the double Infernal. Mountain Dragon is up for them to take as well, and it seems like Snake should have this game. But I say that with a bit of hesitancy. I hesitate when I say that, because we've seen what's happened before, and it's a very serious. But let's recap. Let's take a look at this replay once again.
Yeah, it's always going to be on Karin to see if he can get something. That was an insta-kill onto Phage, so Zatai played that one so well. Gets the second kill as well. So you get these plays where, yeah, it could have turned out very poorly from Snake, but they were able to come out ahead based off of a proper smite coming through. I guess a proper burst from the team, and just take a look at this. Yep, Maokai tanks. You can't do much about it. Really well done from Snake.
Yeah, simply Tutu did not have the damage to cut him down, even though he does have the mortal reminder.
And all the hope was on Moyu once he joined the fight, but a lot of crit chance on Crystal, because he's going for the full crit build on the Varus. And he kind of paid off there, unless if he's
Crystal
dead.
caught out, everybody dogpiling him, and SOFM now under duress as well. The rest of the team comes in, delivers the package. SOFM does not particularly want to pay for this one. In comes the ultimate from Flandre to lock down the rest of the team from Dan, but they still lost the AD carry. This has cut down a lot of the time now on that Baron.
And it's given Dan a major opportunity. These are longer death times we're talking about. 30 seconds is a long time. So we gave Dan a lot of, well, specifically we gave Snake a lot of criticism earlier on in game 1, in their previous series, how they play out with their Barons. Last game was really well done in how they were able to utilize their lane assignments based off that Baron. But you can't make mistakes like these.
Yep, it's going to just cost a lot of time on that Baron. I don't even know how much they have left. Maybe like a minute or so, perhaps one push left in them.
Yeah, they can still go for one tower. The focus should be on the bottom lane, inner turret. So then, if they get that one open, they don't even necessarily need Baron to look to flank towards that mid lane inner turret.
Yeah, staggered recalls though, Raz.
Yes.
So
I guess they're kind of just sitting on it. They're not going to be able to do much with this Baron. It's pretty unfortunate if you're Snake, but at the very least, they're going to be thinking, at least we get a 3rd dragon, I suppose. But at this point in the game, it's not so much about the dragons. The fact that Dan has just looked towards a scaling composition, and they're getting to that point in the game where if Moyu's on a side lane, it's going to be so hard to push him off that lane.
And Moyu just does so much damage. We've seen him often joining up with his team so far in this game, and you can see when he's just hitting anybody that he gets in range of, he's starting to hit like a truck. And visiting back on that one, you said it was going to be Blade of the Ruin King. I said it was Titanic.
Oh.
And what is it, Raz?
Disaster.
Say it to me.
It is the disaster Titanic. I mean, I agree with it. Titanic is the best item you can get there, but I was preying on Moyu, trying to be greedy here. But he's a smart individual.
Yeah, we had the faith. 500.
gold.
Yeah. Better than nothing.
Buy yourself a health crystal.
Actually, just all it buys, really, yeah. So that's really well played from Dan. Just giving them that time to wait out the Baron.
Yeah, they're going to have to, if you're Snake, you're going to have to still all in on these fights. They have Maokai with the team. They're going to need that. They won't have the side lane pressure unless if Zatai is going to be on the top side of the map, but look how far that wave is. They're just kind of hoping that they can get these minions pushed in and chip down that turret with the 5 members that they currently have. They have 2 options, is to barrel through with their tanks and see if they can get a dive. It's just very risky, not a smart thing to do, don't recommend it. Or just have Zatai on the opposite side of the map of the Jax.
Flandre catching out Karen.
Here we go.
It's the ultimate. SOFM jumps in as well, hits the barrel, and that's an instant takedown onto Karen. Zatai backing it up, and he's moves it to the backline, deletes Gung. Guardian Angel roots him down, and that will be a kill onto Zatai. He went very deep for that one, but Moyu comes back up. It's going to be close, but Crystal has the shielding out as well from his support. So it's a 3-for-1 trade. 3
members, 40-second death timer on Gung, 20 on Karin. But these are long death timers, and you have to believe Snake is going to be able to get an inhibitor off of this.
It's been kicked off. Minion Wave coming in as well. Snake will take this one away. Only Tutu and Phage to defend, so they probably won't be able to stop them on this inhibitor tower.
And here's the thing about that last team fight. Zatai played that one so well, but I'm actually going to give SOFM... they're not going to go for the inhib. But I'm going to give SOFM a lot of props for not weaving in an auto attack when sending out his ulti, because he did that in the last team fight that he went through, and he just keeps losing kills when he goes for that greedy auto. This time around, he kept it simple. Got the body slam into ulti, just like this. Boom. Ah, no, he did auto attack. You know what? I'm sad. You know what?
Take that.
Yeah.
Take the praise back.
Take it all back.
Yeah.
But he still gets it through. He still gets the knockback.
Hello.
Boom. That's nice to see.
Yeah, but Phage got a really nice quickness charm off onto him, so he was just kind of stuck. So, yeah, Dan will take away this grab. That's actually really good since Baron is spawning in 55 seconds. But Snake gets the inhibitor tower, but not the inhib. So you said they were backing away. There was 2 seconds left on one of the respawns, 10 seconds on another. So they could have risked it, but the mentality seems to be very clear from Snake. It's like, let's not take any unnecessary risks here. let's just take those advantages and you know, keep pushing forward.
It's just about the payoff on that one. Because had they been able to get the inhibitor and back away, there was nothing on the map for Dan to take. And they would have been able to play off that super minion wave for the 2 objectives coming up. 30 seconds on the Elder Dragon and 20 seconds on the Baron buff. But they won't be able to do that. They're going to have to, you know, kind of get these minions down that lane themselves. It's going to be a lot harder to do that. So Dan has the ability to contest. So, of course, you're right. Play it a much safer pace in this game. But now it's going to be up in the air to see if Snake, triple S OFM, see if they can do this. There is a ward here to catch him out.
They kicked it off. Flandry going to use the zoning branches. Locks up the jungler as well. 2,000 health left on this one. Bought 2 seconds of time. He's knocked away from this one. And that'll be the smite secure from SOFM. Zatai jumps over the wall. Turns it onto Gung. He's got very low HP. He goes down to the Guardian Angel. Meanwhile, SOFM caught out with the rest of the team. But he is very tanky. Soaking up the rest of the time for all of that team. Gung backing it off. And Zatai unable to get that assassinate down. Moyu turning it now onto Hoodie. But he jumps away to this cannon minion. Dan following down. Gets the 3rd kill of the fight. Zatai will escape from this one. Gung does not land that. He knew exactly where he was recalling as well, but just missed it by a hair's breadth, honestly, in the end of that one. So the Baron picked up by Snake, but at a heavy loss.
Yes, major. But at the very least, what Maokai did, what Braum did, at the very end of all of that, pulling the waves so they don't have the option to just go towards an inhib, 2 inhibs even. Sure, they get Elder Dragon, but at the very least, Snake, they get 2 Baron buffs, and they don't lose too much. They lose kills, and they lose an Elder Dragon that should pop off. So now, it's getting really close, down to the wire. Only 36 minutes into the game. But Snake took risks, and at the very least, they get something out of it.
This feels very reminiscent of game 1, but this time you have a Moyu in a side lane. There is no in-betweens for him, no half measures.
And just take a look at Jarvan here. He gets popped back. Flandre played that so well. There's no option here from Carmen to go for a steal, especially with Phage getting the knock-up and charm. So had Jarvan been in that pit during the CC, the smite would have went down. That would have gone to Dan Gaming. It was a major risk, but the Maokai was able to pay it off so well. Not only did he stop Jarvan from stealing it, he directly went to the mid lane and pulled the wave. So Maokai, Flandre really saved his team the game off that play.
Otherwise, that would have been absolutely disastrous. But still, the fact that Zatai was unable to get the 1v1 kill against Gung as well was pretty disastrous. Yes, he was heavily wounded from the initial engage from Phage, but it just meant that heading into the, you know, the late hours of that team fight, that was unable to get that to happen. And ultimately, he is an assassin. You know, that's his one goal in life, is to get that kill off. Phage jumps in once again, gets a double knock up on the front line. Crystal running away from Phage as well. Doesn't get the charm off on him. Gung with the flank as well, and Phage goes down. Snake looking for the turnaround now. Flandre wants to get to that back line, but has disrupted his righteous glory.
Yeah, that was Dan trying to force a fight with no follow-up. They saw Zatai on the bottom side of the map. Also, Phage going inside was great, but they popped up 2 tanks. It was actually Crystal that was super safe, and so immediately they were able to turn it back, because you're not going to be doing damage to Gragas and Flandre, or at least it's going to take a long time to get that down. So Snake, sure, it looked like a negative 3,000 gold Baron power play based off of the teamfight loss, but they're definitely recouping that gold back off that teamfight win and off the objectives that they're taking.
They're getting a left from this Raz, but Hoodie as well drops very low from the damage in from Moyu. There's still a 4 versus 5, and Snake's objective right now is to take as much as they can off of this Baron push. Inhibitor tower down. This will be a 2nd inhibitor now, and probably all they're looking for on this push. And the disengage as well from Flandre.
Can't even call him cats anymore. Man has the wrong skin.
Definitely does.
Yeah. So now you're just going to see Snake. They should play this one out slow. The reason for that is Dan has outscaled him. Sure, it didn't look like that in the team fight, but that was just a bad execution on that one. So you're in a position where Dan wants to fight once again, even though they will be losing Elder Dragon fairly soon. And it's going to be Snake that will send Zatai to the bottom lane with the super minions. Mid lane works too. At least shepherd the wave in, 2 of the waves that are, it is, both mid and bottom lane, while the rest of the team is dealing with the top lane inner and the top lane inhib turret.
Yeah, minus Baron power play as well from Snake, just because those kills going down. But you're absolutely right. If we get into a full-blown team fight for 5 versus 5, then Dan will absolutely smash them.
Yeah. It's the most positive, negative Baron power play I've ever seen in my life, where they were able to get so much off what was essentially a negative Baron power play. Lost a lot of kills, sure, but right now Snake, this feels as easy as it's going to get for them. Sure, they will lose team fights, but they shouldn't even be looking for team fights. This is good from Dan to just send Moyu at wherever Zed is going, but that he doesn't have that option for so long. You push him away from the mid lane, but that bottom lane inhib is still down. Either way, super minions are going to be barreling through your base unless if you send 2 members to these lanes, and you can't do that. You can't afford sending this many members away from the top lane.
Yep, Snake just need to dance around Dan right now, honestly, and try and just take their structures. They have those 2 inhibitors down, so the minions are going to play that 6th man.
Take a look at where Phage and Karin is. They're looking for a counterplay. They're trying to clear the vision here, just so that the Jarvan EQ combination come through on top, of course, of Phage's charm and knockup. That's what they're looking for. That's all they have.
Alright, Snake are going to start this one. Push up the tower. There's no minions just yet, but they're trying to just clear out this minion wave. Going in the mid, Moyu in the bottom.
Yeah,
both of them with Guardian Angels.
Yeah, Dan can't do that anymore. Goong was able to do that because he had the package. Now that's gone and off of him. Goong has to stay top.
We might actually just look for an engage here. Moyu is posturing. Snake need to get this damage onto the tower, but they're taking so much damage from Goong.
Very impatient from Snake. That's actually going to damage them unless if Warmogs is on SOFM, because they're in a position where they can just play it slow and wait for the waves from both mid and bot. And don't take red buff. Okay, you took red buff. As long as you play it patiently, the cards will come your side. Here we go. Next wave.
Pushing this one in.
They shouldn't commit on this one. Oh, Crystal!
Phage has just gone in real deep, but he gets a massive knock-up onto the team once again. Zatai off to the side. Muyu's going to zone him away. Gets the stun up as well in with the death mop, but the rest of the team isn't there. Has to kite away, but that was a fantastic chain of corruption from Crystal for the disengage.
And honestly, even though it didn't look too good, at the very least, Snake were able to get waves pulled into the base. That being said, they're still backing away from it all. So Dan can mark that off as a success because they've pushed back on the attackers.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a double win from Dan because they are ultimately waiting on the respawns from their inhibitors. And Snake, the fact they weren't able to crack that, yes, they were just kind of like burning time until Baron comes back up. But still, it's difficult for Snake at this point in the game because Moyu hits like a truck.
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, Zatai should be the sacrificial lamb. He should be putting in both mid and bottom lane and just be going as aggressively as he possibly can. Because if that pulls members, that's all you really need. 2 members to be pulled away from top lane and you will get a 3rd inhibitor. And that's all you really want is 3 inhibs down. Baron is up, so it's going to turn into another Baron play. At the very least, Snake can hold on to this. They don't have to rush Baron and just wait for the minions to start streaming into the base.
Yep. This is going to be tough, honestly, for Snake. And they have to play it smart. There's no just, ham-fisting it. There's no, just ramming their heads into the wall and hoping that a different result will come out of it. They'll have to play this one smart.
Yeah, this is usually, of course, the scariest point of the game for Snake's coaching lineup. Yeah, sure, it's going to be a scary point regardless because it looks like it's going to be a coin flip, but Snake has never really fared well at this point in the game from most sets this season.
Flag down. Snake have started this. They know that Mo's in the bottom side. The super minions are helping them out as well, but that's where fans coming in for the nice dodge from Choo Choo. Again, a massive knock-up from Phage. Getting so much work done. Zatai jumps into the back line. He hops away. Still has that Guardian Angel at the front line. It's a brawl in the river right now as Goong chases after. Again, Zatai drops him into the Guardian Angel. Crystal turns around. Flash over the wall from Goong as well. SOFM chasing onto the back, but Choo Choo will take him out. Flandre locking up the back line, but what is the rest of Snake able to do? They have to wait down on Moyu, who hops away onto a ward. Zatai getting in range, but again, another hop from Moyu. The cooldown reduction is too strong, but Flandre has just not fallen. The fact that this guy is still alive, and so is Moyu, surviving in a different ways.
Oh,
the minions coming in as well. Moyu somehow still running away from Zatai, and this is the greatest chase of the century, but after the dust settles, it's a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, the fact that Flandre was able to stay alive for so long really benefits the team. Please kill Moyu. Chase him down. I don't care how you do it.
The rest of the team should be able to cut him off here as he tries to get back to his base.
There we go. But yeah, my goodness. You take a look at that fight once more. Flandre was the MVP. as much of an MVP as you can possibly be on a Maokai in that composition, because Choo-Choo was tearing people apart. Choo-Choo played that fight so well, and as I was talking him up,
yeah, you were talking him up, but when after gonna knock him down briefly,
he can't die.
Actually just can't die. This time he did have the assistance from Zatai, which kept him alive, but still, he is remarkably tanky.
That's ridiculous. I mean, Choo-Choo must feel frustrated at this point in the game. Now you have to be... Oh, I don't even think he saw him. I'm just going to assume he didn't see the Maokai. But ultimately, yes, you got to feel frustrated. Choo-Choo used his ulti to dodge out of SOFM's cask, and then you see how that fight played out, because Choo-Choo was not going down at all. And Flandre just dove into him just to buy time, and he bought so much time and still didn't die.
Man, Flandre is an absolute monster on this Maokai. He's got like 4,000 HP, resistance stats to back it up as well, and he gets his health back from his passive. But they're going to go for the full-on engagement. The slowdown coming in from the Righteous Glory. Phage knock up on the front lines, but nowhere as big as the previous ones. Karin goes real deep, and Snake, with this kill, they'll try and knock down these inhibs once again.
You know what? I was really worried that Snake just didn't have a second carry, because Zatai is legitimately just turning into a bait, per se, because he's not going to be able to get kills for himself. But I suppose Maokai, if he just doesn't die, he's going to be repeatedly just doing damage to carries. The guy just sat there for so long, popped Gargoyle of Stone Plate, and was just sitting there, pressing Bramble Fist, hitting the ground. I want to see the damage of Maokai at the end of the game. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to at the end of the game.
This is the one time I want to see damage taken, actually.
Damage taken, damage done. I want to see all the damages.
This has been a very long game. Just very much a slugfest, just back and forth, constantly around these objectives. And now, yes, the Baron's been picked up from Snake, but there's another one. Here comes the Elder Dragon as well.
This is when you start to question, what does this Elder Dragon actually mean for Snake? Because the only reason this game has gone this long, because Snake is not comfortable going into these team fights. They're just trying to get as many objectives as possible to see if they can end the game and try to get as many objectives and use the wave with them as like a 6-man. But they get this Elder Dragon. I doubt they're still going to be confident in winning a team fight with Goong and Choo-Choo still sitting around. Sure, they've been winning the past few, and they're just going to just try and barrel it through with Maokai. But if Crystal is the target, if Crystal gets jumped on, then we got some problems. He's been sitting pretty safe in the past few fights.
Problem is, Goong does so much damage. Choo-Choo, Moyu, like this massive damage threat. If Fate gets onto that backline again, like maybe that was the last team fight was the first time I saw him only hit like one person. There's still the opportunity at almost 50 minutes into a game. A 5-0 means the game for either team.
It's getting rough. We're talking about these 6-item builds coming through. There's a Void Staff on Goong. He needs damage to land.
Yep, it's magic damage crits.
Yep. Okay.
Stepping up, he's very deep actually, right in front of Flandre. Yeah, pops the package to get away. This inhibitor should be falling. SOFM goes very, very deep. In fact, too far, because he will be paying for this for his life. Choo-Choo gets that kill. Karin backing it up, but Moyu has gone deep. He's gone right into the backlines. Face just the same. Gets the knock-up. He drops, and that's a 2 kills over to Snake. They'll look to turn it once more. Crystal, he's low, but he's trading off against Goong. Gets the jump on him, but he has the Guardian Angel cutting away from Karin as well. Crystal is a monster as he gets a triple kill.
He blows them apart. Moyu thought he could take them alone, but no one could. Snake are going to try and win. They're going to win this game.
Try and win. This is their game, Raz. With the quadra kill over to Crystal. He wins this game for them. Nexus down. Snake take the series.
I mean, they look calm. They're just... You know, I'm excited for them. That was a ridiculous ending. We've seen a few of them this set. Snake had a stellar performance. There'll be a lot to look back and criticize, but they still stuck it out and got the victory. We have a few weeks left in the regular season, and Snake's not out of it yet.
Absolutely not. Gradually picking up these wins, but what that means, Raz, on the opposite side is Dan Gaming. This is their 8th series loss in a row. And what does that mean, Raz? Tell me.
All right, well, I'll tell you, just based off the maths. Now, this makes that Dan is 4-9. Losing what is the easiest week for Dan's, coming out 0-2 versus Aime and Snake Gaming. Aime is 4-9. Dan 4-9. Snake 4-9. They're all tied up in the bottom side of the bracket. Now, points do matter, and Dan has these teams on points. But the fact that it's this close at this point in the season, scripted.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Raz, but I believe that Dan have just etched their name in the history for the LPL because they have just collected the longest loss streak in recorded history for the LPL.
Yeah, Raphael's going to be happy that no longer is he in the history books for longest series losses. Hyper Youth Gaming is going to be happy about this one. 8 series losses in a row for Dan Gaming. Once upon a time in week 3, they were 4-1. They are 4-9.
I've not picked up a single win since then. And while they've gotten game wins, they got 4 heading into the series. This was their 5th one in game 1.
Yes.
But yeah, haven't been able to find those series wins, even against Snake.
Yeah, I love the management for Snake. I know we always talk about him. Whenever they take wins, the excitement that he showcases, because if the team's not excited, he's definitely going to be.
Someone's got to carry the team.
Exactly. It's an exciting time for Snake. They look better. They look really good coming into the second half of the regular season. And it's a good time to come on. You know, if you're showing up, show up late. You still look pretty cool. Necessary victory from Snake.
All right, you said you wanted to see the damage graphs from Maokai.
I'm ready.
Where are you expecting it to be?
Maokai, highest damage dealer in the game. Oh, no, I'm lying. Crystal is there. Second highest damage dealer in the game. I'm ready for that.
On the game or the team?
The game.
The game, okay.
I'm saying game.
Second highest in the game.
I know there's a, you know, I should probably say third because there's definitely a Zaya. So I'm just going to flip, flop, flop.
Fourth,
Saying
fifth.
third.
Third?
Third. 1, 2, Corki! All right, fine. All right, there is a Corki. I should have recognized that. I should have respected it.
It was still a lot of damage, though. Like, you cannot discount the fact that Maokai did 34,000 damage, which is higher than the Jax.
Yep. And a lot of it was just the fact that he was just spamming his Bramble Fist. He was just basically able to do so much in terms of disruption in these